Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Left of the box. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to this Sunday afternoon, evening. I'm starting earlier than I normally start because I think I need to hammer through this as fast as I can because I think I'm coming down with another cold. I can feel it. Usually, I can feel it in the back of my throat. And I started feeling it today, and it's only been getting worse, which means you might see me decline in real time as I'm going through this. So I was planning on splitting this into 2 live streams again, doing one today, one on Tuesday night, but we'll see how fast I get through this, because if I am sick, there's no way I'm doing a live stream Tuesday night, because it will hit really, really hard tomorrow, where I'll be barely not functional, or barely functional. And Tuesday and Wednesday would also be a complete write-off for my ability to do anything. So I'm really fucking frustrated because I wasn't even fully recovered from my last cold. But I think I caught it. I was an MC at a charity event, and I think I caught it there. So yay. I hate being sick. I really, really hate being sick. I have too much to do, and I was hoping to get back to the gym tomorrow. Anyway, so far in the sandbox, we have B-Cat, Real John Litham, Diamond Weight Loss, Jet, Hermeteorologist, Danny Garden. Not sure I've seen you in here before, so welcome to the sandbox. Big Jerry, welcome everyone. And Diamond Weight Loss is wondering if we're going to have another Ken and Karen. I wouldn't rule it out, but there's no plans of it at this point. Maybe, but just like I said, there's no plans on it right now, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so, and also, yes, let's start off with some good news as I'm just seeing a comment in the sandbox. The popcorn guy has lost the election in Hungary. And I call him the popcorn guy because all I think about is the Orbanville popcorn whenever I hear his name. Viktor Orban lost. Yay! You know, some good news. We'll start off with some good news because we're going into some pretty shitty news right off the bat. So yes, the popcorn guy lost, and the popcorn guy was a raging, horrible, right-wing Nazi type, so that's good. That is good. My earrings say, which one is shorter? I think this one. She and they. My pronouns, she and they. So the other thing that might happen is I might not be able to finish this live stream because I can already feel myself declining my health. Shit. Put a lot of work into getting the dockets ready today, and I feel why don't I just get right into it, like right now, as opposed to doing like my normal 40 minutes long intro. I just need to do this. I didn't have this open. I'm ready to go. But yeah, I can feel my health declining already. Just I hate being sick. There we go. Sorry, you'll understand what I'm doing in a minute. Always takes me so long to get this done. There we go. Boom. Thank you so much, the True Democratic North, for the $2 super chat. Hi, good evening. Good evening to you too. Hopefully my evening stays manageable. Like I said, I think I'm coming down with a cold again. I'm coming down with a cold again. I haven't even fully recovered from the last one. Super annoying. Super, super annoying. Okay, so why don't I just get right into the news? There's a lot of international news to cover today, mostly around Iran, because since I do this weekly, or that's the attempt, 10 years worth of news can happen in that time period, which is a thing. It is a thing. You know, so much news happens. Haha. There we go. And thank you so much, Rustyator, for another $2 super chat. Super appreciate. Hungary is showing the world how to rebuke fascists. Yes. And just so everyone knows, not that it matters, because it doesn't matter so much to me. My last name is Hungarian, but that means pretty much nothing, because as far as I know, all my grandparents were born in Canada, and lots of mixing, no retaining of culture at all or anything. So I know nothing of Hungary, but other than my last name is Hungarian, which is only, again, a small percentage, because lots of, you know, that was just my father's side type thing. My mother's side, even my father's side, there's a whole bunch of other mixes and stuff of that sort. So there is that. But yeah, why don't I just try getting into the news and hammering through it as fast as possible? Because I already put all this work into getting these dockets ready. And, you know, just a few hours ago, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just that stress, bad throat that I can get, because sometimes it feels like I have a little itch in the back of my throat when I have a lot of stress. But it's getting worse, and I'm just like, fuck. I haven't even fully recovered from my last cold, but it's a thing. I can't wear a mask to everything I go out to these days. If I want to participate in society. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks. Anyway. Let's go here. Oh, that is not the right screen, main shot. You were getting double vision there. I have to put this in studio mode, don't I? There we go. Studio mode. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So then I go there, and then I go there, and then I go there. Okay. Okay. There we go. It's ready now. Now I can transition and studio mode. There we go. Yes, Jet, that was Sandyception there. Okay, so as Iran is on fire, it's important for people to remember that Gaza is still under attack. It's still being, wiped off the face of the earth. And there's a video, I don't think this video was made a while ago, but it's a good reminder of just what the situation is like in Gaza and how bad it is. Put the headphones in to make sure there's no audio on this because it plays music. There we go. So this is just a visual representation of, no, I said no music. There we go. Of how bad things are. Like you can see befores and afters of just the utter destruction that's happened there. You can see it from satellites. It's like all the green and everything has just been ripped out of the surface. It's horrible. Just an unspeakable crime that's happened there. And this is Israel's doing. Israel, the United States, with the aid of Canada and other Western nations. And things are just getting worse because they just passed a law in Israel that they can start executing Palestinian prisoners. And that it's a mandatory sentence, too, if convicted of a terrorist act, which, is, again, it is horrible. Absolutely horrible. Musafar is just saying, bound and tortured Palestinian hostages. Israel's National Security Minister, Ben-Gvir, do you see them? This is how they are now. But one thing remains to be done, and that is to execute them. This is what the US, UK, and Canada and Europe support. There's no sense in playing the audio with this one because he's not speaking English, but you're seeing ghosts right now. These people are ghosts. Because he wants to just, humiliate them, put them on display, and then execute them, all in the name of this flag here. And also, I covered this a lot initially when it was first happening, and that is protesters in the UK getting arrested for supporting Palestine Action. That hasn't ended. It's still a prescribed group. So the UK has prescribed it as a terrorist organization, and showing any support for it means that you get arrested. Because, yeah, sure, that fits the crime. And there was a whole bunch of arrests this weekend. And so this video is from Defend Our Juries, but Claudia is saying, if this is Britain's idea of a terrorist threat, then British counterterrorism has lost all connection to reality.
Well done! Free Palestine!
All the officers involved with this should just be absolutely ashamed of themselves.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
These officers here just should be ashamed of themselves. Like, some people will say, oh, well, they're just doing their jobs. Okay, nobody is forcing them to do this. You have to have moral integrity at some point. And if your job requires you to arrest people, when you know in your core of your being, you know that it's an unlawful law, that it is targeting just a specific group of people, you know it's wrong, then you got to quit your job. Or you got to refuse to do these duties. You cannot, in good conscience, arrest these people for just saying that they support Palestine Action. And Francesca Albanese is also commenting on this as well, saying one of Orwell's nightmares materialized would be this: potential war criminals and arm manufacturers implicated in a genocide allowed to roam and operate freely, while citizens get arrested for opposing a genocide. And again, this is from Defend Our Juries, breaking mass arrests under the Terrorism Act in Trafalgar Square as hundreds defy the ban on Palestine Action. The police are knowingly, unlawfully arresting peaceful protesters for holding placards which say, I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action.
Out of the way!
Yeah, is this peaceful protester here? Is that a terrorist?
Guys, can you move out of the way, please? Thank you.
More Earth hippie saying this video should bring down the British government.
So, sir, do you have a message for the Palestinians in Gaza?
I'm being arrested and called a terrorist for holding a placard.
And who?
The real terrorists are in Downing Street.
Hopefully the music that's being played in the background here doesn't hit me up.
And in his
So if you're watching this after the fact and you're not seeing whatever is on the screen right now, it gets cut out. It's because the music in the background meant that I had to get that part snipped out.
Israel, I accuse Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper, and David Lammy.
And if you could have a message to Benjamin Netanyahu, what would that be, sir?
I wish he would go away very quickly. I think he's a bastard.
Is this right, the fact that you're being dragged like this, sir?
No, I'm doing this because I believe in the freedom of democratic state and the fact that if I'm prescribed as a terrorist for holding a banner, a placard, our democratic rights are being abused across the board. It doesn't stop here, it then goes to anyone, trade unions, any sort of peaceful protest.
Would you say, sir, as you're being dragged like this, that we live in a democracy?
We live in a purported democracy, but I have my doubts.
Any last messages, sir?
Yeah, good luck to everyone in Palestine.
Those police officers absolutely should be ashamed of themselves. And Zach Polanski pointing out here, absolutely shameful. The Labour government has no interest in tackling inequality, stopping poverty in this country, or stopping a genocide they're complicit in. Every interest in trying to silence dissent. We will not be silent. And he's quote tweeting a Metropolitan Police post saying 523 people were arrested today for showing support for a prescribed organization. Basically, Palestine Action. The age of those arrested ranged from 18 to 87. That brings the updates today to a close. We are grateful for all the officers involved for their professionalism. No, all of them are pieces of shit. They know in the core of their being what they're doing is wrong. They know it goes against democracy. They know it goes against free speech. They know this. And notice how only some accounts can reply to this. Gee, I wonder why. But yeah, they know that what they are doing is wrong. It goes against the values that they pretend to espouse. And, you know, they know that the people that they are hauling away, picking up and moving, they're not a threat. These people are not a threat. Also, with everything going on, it's good to, again, keep Cuba in our minds because things there are deteriorating. They're getting worse because there's so much in the news these days that it's hard to keep track of everything, of all the horrors. So there's this clip here that I have just talking about how bad things have gotten in Cuba, and this person saying absolute horror. Al Jazeera confirms the Trump administration's near total fuel blockade on Cuba is causing infant mortality to surge. Doctors are literally operating blind in the dark as life-saving machines shut off. This is deliberate crime against humanity. It absolutely is. The United States government is killing babies. Where's the uproar? You know, I've seen more attention given to Eric Swalwell in the news in general than I have to the fact that the American government is responsible for the deaths of babies.
We used to carry out 10,000 surgeries a year. I don't think we'll reach 1,000 this year. After COVID, we went progressively downhill, but the public health system prioritizes pediatrics, so we made do. But now our reserves are hitting rock bottom because of the power crisis. Our laboratories can't produce medicine or anesthesia either.
More than 3 months of a near-total U.S. fuel blockade on Cuba are having deadly consequences, especially in hospitals and clinics where conditions are rapidly deteriorating. Infant mortality, once the lowest in the Americas, is rising steadily.
And these are two very modern machines. This one is much older, but it's essential, and it doesn't have a battery. So if the light goes out, it's off.
Dr. Fernandez says it's like operating blind.
Yeah. Absolutely horrible situation that they're in. Okay, I'm going to close these tabs. There's still a lot of international news to get to, but we're going to start talking about Iran and Libya next. And the absolute horror show that is happening there. But first, I'm going to quickly check the SandBox. For those of you who are joining just a bit late, I'm going to try my best to get through all of this. I think I'm coming down with another cold. I haven't even fully recovered from my last one. So I have a lot of things put together to cover. Normally I would want to split this into 2 live streams again, because that's the thing that I've been wanting to try. But if I am getting sick, I need to do everything I can right now, because I will just be completely laid out for the next few days if I'm sick, which means that I won't be able to present my lovely dockets to you guys. And the way that the news cycles, it just happens so fast that all of this important news that I put together would be moot by the time, another week goes by. Or the amount of information that I would have to relay is just... When my TYT essay is done, I need to seriously consider doing this like far, far more regularly just to keep up on top of everything without having, 5 to 6 hour long live streams. Hello, Boku. Welcome to the SandBox. Let's see. Hello, Looney Tunes 9000. Nice to see you. Reciator, UK police seem slightly better than American police. Well, yeah, the UK police aren't beating them as much. They're manhandling them and taking them away. Yeah, I would imagine the same type of situation if the American police, they probably get a lot more violent. Not to say that the UK police haven't, but yeah. Hello, Bad Lefty. Boku saying that's not the type of people they hire. Yeah, some professions, certain people gravitate towards them because of the environments that are in them that allow them to get away with these horrible things. But anyone with a conscience or a soul, you can't be a police officer. You just can't, because if you want to help save people, if that's what you want to do, become a nurse. There's other professions that you can get into, that you can do that would actually help people. But being a police officer isn't that. Like even something like this, I probably help more people than a lot of cops do. Jet, if you're arresting old men who clearly aren't a threat to you, you need to rethink what the hell you are doing. That is true. Oops. Jumped a bit. Boku, the grossest of lines. Yeah. Bad Lefty, they call us terrorists too. No, I'm getting more and more sure that I can't travel outside Canada because all my political views are out there, and depending on like, can I go to the UK when I have said I support Palestine action? Does that mean I'm banned from going to the UK? Some of the comments that I've said and stuff. Because like Hassan, he can go when he says things about Hamas and how Hamas was just... He did an interview recently on Pod Save America, and I don't want to misquote him, but he was saying things along the lines that he would vote for harm reduction, as in he would vote for Hamas over the Israeli government type thing. And so he has said some very... Personally, I don't think they're all that extreme because Hamas is nowhere near as big of a threat or deadly as the Israeli government is. And they've done far, far, far less harm than the Israeli government has done. But since Hassan has a lot of power and money, he can still travel, albeit with some issues. But somebody like me, I have no power. You know, I would probably be banned from going to the UK, and there's nothing, you know, I don't have a loud enough voice. That said, it's not like I'm planning on going to the UK, because that requires something I don't have, which is also the money part. And I don't know why I would go to the UK. Like, I would love to go to the UK. I would love to travel there, but unless somebody's paying for my travel there, all my expenses, and then some, so that I can enjoy the shops and museums and all that sort of stuff and eat food, like all expenses and then some paid, yeah, I'm not going to the UK. Lucky Dragon saying Orban loses in a landslide election. This is great news for Ukraine and Palestine. Yep. As I say, the popcorn guy lost, because I keep on thinking of Orbaville. Fuck, I don't know how to say the popcorn name. But that's what I kept on thinking whenever I hear Viktor Orban, is just popcorn. Resiator saying America fund is 70% of the Gaza genocide. Yeah, Israel would not be able to get away with what it's doing if it wasn't for the aid of the United States and Canada and the UK. Let's see. Bad Lefty, Sandy, call up the show at any point. Your health is more important than... Yeah, if I don't feel like I can go on, then I'll cut it short. But I enjoy doing this. Like, as much as the news is horrible, I enjoy relaying information, giving my commentary, helping people understand the world, giving my perspective as somebody with disabilities and poverty, queer, non-binary into the mix, which is often overlooked. Like, to be able to add that perspective, to interact with all of you, to provide community for people. Like, this is something that I really, really like doing. And I remember being really sick and still having to go into work. Because, yes, I would have sick days, you know, depending on where I worked. Like my last main job, I had sick days, but I would reserve sick days for when my mental health was acting up. But I would go in when I was very physically sick, as long as I could, you know, sit up at the computer and still type. Because when I was mentally unwell, my brain wouldn't be able to function. Whereas if I'm sick with a cold, my brain can still function. It's just, it's a drain and it's difficult. But the nice thing about working from here is if I get exhausted from this, I can just go collapse on my bed afterwards. But it's just, I catch bugs so easy. And even though I still wear a mask when I go out to grocery stores, when I go to the gym, things of that sort, if I'm at a social event or what I suspect I was emceeing at a charity event on Thursday, I think that's where I caught it. Nobody else is wearing masks anymore. So, you know, there's only so much protection I can give myself. And then if other people are going out, if they know they're sick, like I didn't see anyone that looks sick, but like I said, I catch bugs so easy. And it's just, you know, my immune system was probably still a bit weak because I hadn't fully recovered from my last cold. But we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Maybe it's just a 24-hour thing. Maybe I'm over it tomorrow morning. Yeah. Let's see. Hello, Glitchmaster. Welcome to the SandBox. I'm in line for Zoran's 100-day address. Going to be a big crowd. Oh, nice. Oh, one of my pictures is slightly crooked. Which one? Which one are you talking about? Abernathy was messing around earlier with those. It's super frustrating, that cat, sometimes. I don't know why you would get blocked, Lucky Dragon. I don't think you have been. Make sure that you put it to live chat if you're not seeing your chats, because sometimes, yeah, top chat is a big pain in the ass for people. So make sure you put it to live chat. Live chat. Oh, YouTube took out a comment. Let's see, let's see, let's see. I don't know what you're talking about, Boku, there. Had to figure out which one's crooked even when you said it. Lucky Dragon. Orville Redenbacher. Yeah, that's the popcorn. Hello, Silas. But I keep on thinking, like, when they say Victor Orban, I just, dyslexia. I'm pretty sure all the letters, it's like, yeah, it's anagrams. Maybe a little bit scrambled in my brain. But I kept on thinking of the popcorn guy whenever I would hear his name. And then I would want to eat popcorn. Where was I? Boku, it's funny how pre-COVID we would work while having the worst cold flus, yeah. The cat frame, yeah. The thing is that also the camera can have a bit of a, the way that the camera bends things. Yeah. Let's see. Hello, Bobby. Welcome to the SandBox. Okay, let's get back to it. Like I said, there's a ton to get through today. I want to get to the floor crossing that recently happened in to liberals. It's sad, but it's funny, but it's sad. Just big tent, you say. Don't tents have walls? I guess not. I guess not. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the news. So again, we're getting into some horrible news talking about Iran and Lebanon and just the absolute atrocities that are happening there. In the way that our media frames it and everything, it's gross. It's gross. Here we go. So I don't know how to say this guy's name, but I have quite a few tweets from him today saying terrifying reality check. Al Jazeera confirms the U.S. and Israel have bombed over 760 schools and 350 healthcare centers in Iran. They are intentionally obliterating mental health hospitals and residential markets. The scale of these war crimes is absolutely sickening.
The Red Crescent says more than 760 schools have been hit. Over the past weeks, the scope of those strikes has expanded as the U.S. and Israel increasingly attack civilian infrastructure. We are in southern areas of the Iranian capital, Tehran, where a residential and commercial area was targeted, and this building, a hospital, was severely impacted. A U.S.-Israeli attack hit this area last weekend. It destroyed the market that was here. Across the street, the force of explosion.
So, when U.S. and Israel always like to say, oh, well, we're hitting military targets. No, they're not. They are intentionally destroying the ability for them to have any sense of normalcy. Their markets, their schools. It is a complete destruction and to being able to survive. And these are absolutely war crimes that they are guilty of. There's no doubt about it. These are war crimes.
Also caused extensive damage to De La Ramsina Hospital. Hospital management says it has been impossible for them to continue caring for patients.
The blast from the airstrike on the street outside caused serious damage to the hospital. Most of our patients have mental health conditions, and a calm environment is essential for their care.
Inside the hospital, the extent of the destruction is even more apparent. This is shrapnel inside one of the rooms of the ground floor of this hospital.
Yeah, being bombed all the time. Not exactly helpful to people's mental health.
And the damage obviously extends to other parts like this one. According to Iran's Ministry of Health, more than 350 health centers have been damaged since the start of the war. And the Red Crescent says at least 8.
Yeah. And here's more. So terrifying escalation. Al Jazeera confirms the U.S. and Israel are actively bombing Iran's nuclear and heavy water facilities. They are, and so again, keep in mind that this is from April 6th. So since then, there was, and we'll get to it, Trump threatening complete genocide, like complete erasure of Iran. Then there was the peace deal, and now that's off. All of that has happened in the past week. So this is from April 6th that these reports are coming out from. Then there was the ceasefire, and then the ceasefire was called off after Donald Trump had threatened genocide. So like I said, it's hard to cover the news on a weekly basis when so much happens in between. But this is what was happening before Donald Trump threatened genocide. Bombing Iran's nuclear and heavy water facilities. These are intentionally destroying vital medical research and risking catastrophic nuclear contamination across the entire region. Absolute madness.
It is not that one, but we know that when it comes to nuclear facilities of the country, starting from earlier, much earlier, in June, when the Americans and Israelis started a campaign of airstrikes, three of the most important facilities, Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan, were targeted. And moving on, in this war, we also witnessed actually nuclear-related facilities of the country being, some of them directly, some of them indirectly hit. And about this recent one, we know that the areas in the vicinity have been witnessed the airstrikes by the Americans and Israelis. The Iranian side has raised concerns about that, and we've got this statement a couple of hours ago from the Iran's Atomic Energy Organization. They came out to give a detailed account of the areas targeted, and they said, quote unquote, heavy water and its derivatives are vital for medicine, disease treatment, and advanced industries. U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran's heavy water facility is a crime against science and humanity health. Our scientific progress will not be halted, nor will our resolve to serve global peace and health. This is...
Yeah, so often these types of things, they want target infrastructure, water, that sort of thing first, but they also want to target education, because if they destroy like educational institutions, the ability for people to get properly educated, it's harder for them to rise up in the future, because they won't necessarily learn a lot of, science, technology, math, things that could actually help them in defending themselves against these oppressive countries. So absolute horror on Al Jazeera. Prominent correspondent confirms the Trump administration and Israel are intentionally bombing Iran's top universities, hospitals, Red Crescent buildings. They are indiscriminately slaughtering civilians, including children. Pure war. And we don't need to watch this clip again because these are from a week ago. Things have changed. Horrible. Like, we get the news idea from this. But the little header here says Iranian authorities, 2,076 people killed and 26,500 injured in U.S.-Israeli offensive since February 28th. And reminder, they're targeting hospitals and medical facilities. So if you're injured, it really restricts the type of aid that you can receive, which leaves people sometimes permanently wounded, which again is part of the point, because it's harder for people with these physical injuries now to, stand up to their oppressors. So this person here just saying, I've not seen a single mainstream media outlet give this attention it deserves. Israel blew up an entire Lebanese town in the ancient place. It should be headlines news. There's footage of it happening. Imagine this was your town and you saw every building blown up by a terrorist army to prevent you from ever returning. You would be at very least expect wall-to-wall coverage. Instead, it passes without a word. It's not the only town Israel has blown up, and sadly probably won't be the last. It's absolutely horrifying. Your home, the shops around you, your neighbors, everything that made you feel comfortable, just gone in a flash. This person saying, I have no words. We live in a morally topsy-turvy world where one rogue state can destroy all possibility of life around it, and saying as much publicly would earn you the label of anti-Semite. Yeah. No, this is the Israeli government doing. Absolutely horrifying what they are doing. Netanyahu, Trump, all of them are responsible for these absolute horrors. So Omar here saying these sadistic fucking monsters need to be stopped. Close every goddamn embassy, kick out every one of their ambassadors, terminate every trade deal. So here we have Israeli bombed Beirut hospital where Doctors Without Borders was working, killing 4 and injuring dozens more.
We are at Rafik al-Hariri University Hospital, close to the site of the airstrikes that hit Beirut today without prior warning. So far, at least 4 people have been killed and more than 39 injured, and the numbers are expected to rise. In the emergency room, we are seeing high influx of patients. There are critical cases with severe injuries to the head, the chest, and the abdomen, alongside many others with shrapnel wounds and open injuries. The strike hit a densely populated residential area, and among the wounded are women, elderly people, and teenagers. The situation remains very active, and more casualties are still arriving. When strikes hit crowded civilian areas without warning, the consequences are severe, not only in terms of casualties, but also on the capacity of hospitals to respond. We are seeing as well medical cases that are not able to be followed and managed due to the mass casualty ongoing. We are here supporting alongside an ER specialist and of course our logistical team, working with the hospital team to help manage the situation. Inside the emergency room, the teams are prioritizing the most critical cases. People with chronic conditions or acute medical needs unrelated to the blast are waiting longer, and some may not be seen at all.
And then this is how Trump was talking about them. So as the US and Israel are busy wiping Iran and Lebanon off the map, this is the type of gross language he uses.
Mr. President, how would it not be a war crime to strike Iran's bridges and power plants? Because they killed 45,000 people in the last...
And Iran... Yes, Iran killed a lot of protesters in the thousands, not in the tens of thousands. There's no proof of that. There's no evidence of that. That is just Trump pulling a number out of his ass. And it's not like the United States is completely guilt-free when it comes to killing protesters.
Month, more than that. I think it could be as much as 60. They kill protesters. They're animals. And we have to stop them, and we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They want a nuclear weapon. They've been trying for a long time. I stopped them with the Obama horrible Iran nuclear deal. I stopped them in a lot of different ways.
Basically referring to them as animals. says the monster that is busy assisting in genocides. And so this is what, again, he was saying last week, which was putting a lot of terror into people. I was feeling it. I was worried because there are no longer adults in the room. Because it used to be that there was somebody with like a clear conscience or something that might be able to talk him out of it or stop him. And I'm not seeing that anymore. So every time he makes these threats, I'm far more worried he might actually follow through with them. And so when he was making these threats about committing genocide, I was terrified for the people there. Because Trump acts in a way where he doesn't take any consequences into consideration for himself. So, like, even as something as like the global economy and what that would do to that, to the oil, trade, to the prices of everything, he doesn't take consequences of his actions into account. He just wants instant results, instant gratification, what makes him feel good in the moment without thinking about how this will actually impact people in the future. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about the loss of life. He just cares about leaving a mark. And the fact that there's nobody around him that I trust to keep the car on the rails. Yeah, I get scared every time he starts talking like this.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
Fortunately, that didn't happen, but they're still doing a lot bad. So Avi Lewis here was responding to another tweet that, or a post that Donald Trump had put out that, again, was really emphasizing or really getting people to think that he was about to commit genocide. Because he had said, like, a whole civilization will die tonight. If all of you watch the news, again, this is old news. It's from April 7th, but it's old news already because it's already flip-flopped and gone back and forth. And a lot of you will remember how absolutely horrifying this was when we first saw it. And just saying, like, we will find out tonight. So one of the other things that Trump always does is he goes back to his media training in what sells, like The Apprentice and things of that sort. He loves cliffhangers. He loves getting people engaged by these horrors without, people wanting to know what will happen and that sort of thing. It's like he purposely designs it like this to get the maximum amount of engagement and attention and awareness. Because he sets it up like a game show, like a cliffhanger in a TV series. And he continuously does that over and over again. And it's exhausting, just never knowing when he will finally just do it. Because again, I'm worried that there's no one there that will actually stop him. I'm worried that, the people who are in charge of the nuclear codes won't have enough of a conscience to be like, yeah, we can't go through with this, even if the president says so. Because if there's something that what's happening in Gaza and Iran and Lebanon has been teaching me, in Cuba and Venezuela and stuff, is, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would have always thought that there's enough decent people out there to counteract this type of thing, that there would be enough people from within the system standing up or releasing information or leaking documents to make the public aware, and then the public would shut it down, or that there would be other officials that would come in and stop this. We live in a world, though, where that doesn't happen. They used to make TV movies about it, or actual movies in theaters about the people who stood up and stopped these horrific events from happening. And all of those people no longer exist. There's nobody from within the system now that is willing to risk their career, risk their lives to stop these atrocities. So in this post he had sent out, he says, who knows? We will find out one of the most important moments in a long, complex history in World War. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. And so Avi Lewis had quote tweeted that, saying the president of the United States is openly threatening to commit genocide against 90 million people. Prime Minister Carney, if there was ever a moment to denounce this illegal war, withdraw your support and call for accountability for war crimes, it's now. And did you think Mark Carney did that? No. No. We'll be getting into a little bit of what Mark Carney has been doing, but denouncing Donald Trump's rhetoric here, threatening genocide, threatening the lives of 90 million people. And in case Mark Carney doesn't know, there's only 40 million people in Canada. So he was threatening more than twice the population of Canada. And what did Mark Carney and Anita Anand do? They put sanctions on Iran. Because Iran had the audacity to fight back and fight for themselves. So Zach Polanski was also making hay of the fact that Keir Starmer also wasn't saying anything about the horrible rhetoric coming from Trump's mouth. Just down here saying it's now been 3 hours since supposed ally Donald Trump threatened genocide on a country of 93 million. We had absolutely nothing from the UK government, and now 7 hours of silence from the Prime Minister. The UK is using US bases. The president is openly talking about destroying a civilization, and Downing Street says nothing. If you won't speak up now, when will you? If they haven't spoken up at this point, they never will. Because that line, if it ever existed, that was 2-3 years ago. So if they wouldn't speak up when all the atrocities in Gaza were happening, when the genocide there was happening, and I mean just starting to happen, when the first 10,000 people, innocent people in Gaza were slaughtered, if they couldn't say anything then, they're not going to say anything now. They're not going to speak up and push back against the United States and Israel unless, not even, I don't even think Mark Carney would condemn Donald Trump if he did annex part of Canada at this point. I think even then Mark Carney would be like, well, we didn't really need that part of Canada anyway. Meanwhile, you have young women like Greta Thunberg who are speaking up. And this is what I wish we would see from our politicians. This fire, this fight, this conscience, this just having a brain and thinking and heart and all of that sort of stuff. This is what I wish our politicians would sound like.
The President of the United States just said that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. The President of the United States just said that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. And no one is reacting. This speaks for itself. What the fuck is anyone even doing at this point? We have normalized genocide, total annihilation of entire people, the systematic destruction of the biosphere which we are all depending on to survive, and that corrupt, racist war criminals can act with complete impunity. But even though we have allowed far too much so far, it is not too late to say stop. If we don't, we shouldn't fucking be able to call ourselves human. The President of the United States...
Yeah. The word humanity has lost all meaning in today's age. What does that even mean anymore when we say, humanity, that we're humane people and all that sort of stuff? All the things that we try to claim as humanity, it's gone. It's not there in the powerful people. The things that we should be fighting for, the things that used to define, the ideals of a species and all that sort of stuff. It's just gone. It's like that bubble is now collapsing because, you know, there was the whole idea of the American dream, and some people knew that never existed. And then that bubble started to collapse. And then there was that ideal of what Canada is, and some people knew that never existed. And now that's also collapsing. And now, you know, it's the idea of humanity is collapsing because there's not enough people actually living up to what we claim humanity is. And if you don't have enough people living up to it, then does that word have any meaning anymore? And so after the threats of wiping out Iran, the entire civilization, there were some protests within Iran of people willing to stand up and put their lives on the line. And Owen Jones had quote tweeted this out, just saying solidarity with the people of Iran. If Trump exterminates these people, the American people have to remove him from office by force. They should have done that by now. The fact that they haven't, again, that line, it doesn't exist. The ideals of humanity, it's not being implemented through our current governments. And so this is from Dropsite. Iranians form human chains around power plants and bridges as Donald Trump warns a whole civilization will die tonight. As Trump issued his most explicit threat yet, videos circulating online showing civilians gathering around power stations and key infrastructure across Iran in acts of solidarity ahead of his 8 p.m. deadline. And again, the fact that Trump was putting out there, like, here's the exact timeline. It's a game show to him. It's a movie. It's a TV series cliffhanger. That's what he's doing. That's what he's programmed to do. That's his showbiz side coming out, wanting to do that sort of thing. But these people are literally putting their lives on the line because with Donald Trump, you just never know. You never know if the next time will be the time that he actually follows through with it. And so to be willing to stand up like this, it's hard to say if I would see something like that happening here in Canada, if Donald Trump was even threatening us even more than he already is, if people would be willing to put their bodies on the line. That said, like, we see what's happening in the States and you wonder, like, why aren't people doing that there? But it's a bit of a tricky situation because quite often there are, because we've seen protesters go against ICE agents and things of that sort. It's just those types of things aren't reported on as much. So the mainstream media isn't reporting on this sort of thing. You're not seeing this type of pushback in mainstream media from the people. And so there are often people in the public who are willing to put their lives on the line, but we just don't see it as much. Because mainstream media has a way of ignoring those things. Meanwhile, here is Canada's response. So Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East had tweeted this out, saying this is not a proportionate response to Trump's alarming threats that a whole civilization will die tonight. The U.S. and Israel are openly targeting civilian infrastructure, while Trump adopts explicitly genocidal language, and Canada still won't directly condemn their attacks. And so this is from the Foreign Affairs Minister. I don't need to read it because she will say it.
Any attempt to target civilians or civilian infrastructure must be recognized as contrary to international law and international humanitarian law, and in particular the Geneva Conventions. Civilian infrastructure is indeed what keeps civilians themselves safe. Neither should be the object of military decisions, period. And that is our position internationally, and it applies to all states.
She keeps on saying these words, you know, oh, international humanitarian rights, international law. That's a thing. She keeps on saying it's a thing, but they never act on it. They don't condemn the United States and Israel for what they're doing. They don't place sanctions on the United States and Israel. They're allowing this to happen. Like, Canada does have some power in this situation, and this government is choosing not to do anything. Not even words of condemnation for what's happening. And so Mark Carney is just as guilty. Rachel Gilmore had tweeted this out. Mark Carney asked about Trump threatening genocide in Iran, urges all parties in this conflict, in any conflict, to respect international laws, the rules of engagement. They haven't been respecting international laws, so why do you keep on saying that? Not once has this actually happened. Like, they're constantly violating international laws. They are guilty of war crimes. They've televised their war crimes. But you keep on saying these words like they have meaning. So he says that means not targeting certainly civilians or civilian infrastructure. Oops. But he doesn't directly address Trump's post.
This morning, President Trump posted on Iran saying, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." What's your message to Trump, and do you believe this rhetoric?
The first is that Canada expects all parties in this conflict, in any conflict, to respect international laws, the rules of engagement, and that means not targeting.
You expect them to respect that at this point? Really? Really? You still you expect them to do that, Because when in the past have they proven that they will ever respect international law?
Certainly civilians or civilian infrastructure. And we urge all parties in this war to follow those responsibilities. It's a point we've made publicly and privately. There is a, I'll just observe that there are some negotiations going on, and that there is often a gap between.
So again, he's saying nothing about the fact that Trump had threatened to wipe out 90 million people. He's not addressing the actual post, the actual language in the post. He's not saying, well, maybe Trump shouldn't have said that, or that was wrong of him to say. Not even something as lightly pushed back as that. Nothing.
What's said publicly and what's happening privately. We are not at the center of those negotiations, although we have some visibility to them. However they unfold in the coming hours, in the coming days, the coming weeks, those negotiations, those discussions, those movements, as it must towards a cessation of hostilities and a reestablishment of security and peace in the region, those international responsibilities, those humanitarian responsibilities remain for all parties throughout that period.
No, they don't. They haven't for a while. And so the reporter follows up by asking Carney, do you regret your initial support of this war? The point of the support, Carney replied, was ending of both that state-sponsored terrorism and nuclear ambition of Iran. That remains the case. Yeah. There was no nuclear ambition from Iran. There was a negotiation that was in place, that Obama put in place, that Donald Trump ripped up. Iran wasn't a threat. Definitely not to us. And they keep on saying this just flat out falsity. They keep on saying this lie. They keep on repeating it over and over again, that they needed to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, when that wasn't on their agenda. Quite honestly, I wouldn't blame them if it is now.
Do you regret your initial support of this war?
Well, the initial point which we made is the grave threat that the Iranian regime has posed for not just threat, but the actual acts of the Iranian regime over the course of more than 4 decades. The threat to peace and security in the broader Middle East.
The biggest threat to peace and security in the Middle East has been Israel.
It is one of the largest state sponsors of terrorism.
No, again, that's Israel. And keep in mind that Israel is just a proxy for the United States. Like, this is Israel and the United States that's doing the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East. Israel wouldn't exist without the support and benefit from the United States. They just wouldn't. And, you know, the United States interference in Middle Eastern affairs and politics and regime changes and all that sort of stuff. I don't think there's been a bigger threat to global stability than the United States and Israel at this point.
In the region and more broadly, terrorism that has taken the lives of Canadian citizens, including in the downing of the Ukrainian airliner a few years ago.
He's never said anything about the lives of Canadian citizens killed by Israel.
This was the first point that we were making, was the desirability of the ending of both that state-sponsored terrorism and the nuclear ambitions of Iran. That remains the case. It has always been the case, though, that Canada makes a distinction, a fundamental distinction, as others do, between those objectives and obligations under international law and the respect for human rights.
So here we have Raghu. He's quote tweeting this out. Minister Axworthy could say what our Canadian Prime Minister could not. I'm ashamed of Canada today. And so he's a former Foreign Affairs Minister, Lloyd Axworthy. So that's here in Canada, former Foreign Affairs Minister. On Trump's threat to Iran's civilization. And I don't need to read that because he says it. And we need this type of energy now in office. Not all these sycophants, not all these NPCs that are just there playing their part. And it's the other way around, Looney Tunes. Israel is a muppet for the United States. The United States has far more say over what Israel does. They go along with it. They like it. They allow Israel to do it. They want Israel to exist. They want Israel to have the power and to do everything. The United States has the ability to shut Israel down. But Israel is what it is because the United States want them there like that.
It was obviously pretty carefully curated and diplomatic, and really kind of missed the central point, is that we now have a U.S. president, probably in the first time ever, threatening genocide. That was the kind of international law the Prime Minister was talking about, the Genocide Convention. And under that convention, any country, any person that threatens the existence of a national ethnic group, elimination, stone aging, they are edging on the commission of a war crime of the most serious format. So I think that's what Canadians have to now deal with, is that we now have a president next door who is clearly at a stage of whether it's madness or ferocity that he's prepared to authorize a genocide initiative by the United States of America.
And Mehdi Hassan just quoting Vladimir Zelensky, president of Ukraine, who's currently being attacked by Russia, and how he's kind of like, yeah, you kind of get the feeling that he's like, Strait of Hormuz, you know, the Iranian blocking that, bad. Really? Really? So it's unfortunate that the UN Security Council has once again failed to demonstrate effectiveness and act decisively in the face of such global threat as the Iranian regime's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Why are they threatening the blockade? Why are they doing the blockade? Why? You think they just did it? Why are they doing it? What was the emphasis of it? Like, what started it? If you wanted it to be open, it's not the Iranians that you need to be mad at. It's the United States and Israel that you need to be mad at, because Iran is just using the only leverage they have, and it's some damn good leverage that they have. But to be mad at Iran for defending themselves, in the face of this attack. Really? You're going to say that? You, of all people, are going to say that. Saying no one should be allowed to block such a globally significant sea lanes or undermine security of dozens of nations through terrorist attacks against the freedom of navigation. Yeah, you might want to look at why they're doing it. And so Mehdi Hassan was just saying, it's astonishing that you, a world leader who many respected for standing up to an illegal attack on your country, now support an illegal attack on another country. It completely kills your credibility. Right now, Iran is Ukraine. You may not like to hear that, but it is a fact. So after Trump had threatened the whole civilization erasure, the genocide, the clock ticked down and he's like, okay, no, we have a ceasefire, 2-week ceasefire. And I'm sure people who are plugged into news have already seen this. So I don't need to reread this. Just saying, yeah, we'll do ceasefire for 2 weeks. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rightfully pointing out this statement changes nothing. The instant Trump posted that threat of genocide, his door should have been kicked down and he been dragged out of office. That should have been the hard line there, and it didn't happen. And she had basically called for that when Trump did that. And so now she's saying, like, just because there's this so-called 2-week ceasefire, it changes nothing. He needs to be out of office. So the president has threatened genocide against the Iranian people and is continuing to leverage that threat. He has launched massive war of enormous risk and catastrophic consequences without reason, rationale, nor congressional authorization, which is a clear violation of the Constitution as any. Each day this goes on, the risk and criminality of these actions escalate for our nation and the world. Moreover, this administration's self-enrichment, insider trading, pure corruption of this chaos from cryptocurrencies to predictive trading, markets, and bribes settlements has placed Trump's administration pursuit of personal wealth squarely against the well-being of our nation and its people. All of these incidents and plenty more have clearly driven out our country past the threshold of impeachment or invocation of the 25th Amendment. We cannot risk the world nor the well-being of our nation any longer. None of these considerations should be partisan, but shared in good faith by Americans of all backgrounds who care for the safety and stability of the United States. Whether by his cabinet or Congress, the president must be removed from office. We are playing with the brink. Yeah, he needs to be out of office now. Oh, I'm not following her yet. There we go. Change that. And Zach Polanski. Yeah, so Keir Starmer finally speaks after the ceasefire was called. And so he had said in this very short statement, I welcome the ceasefire agreement reached overnight, which will bring a moment of relief to the region and the world. Together with our partners, we must do all we can to support this and sustain this ceasefire, turn it to a lasting agreement, and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And Zach Polanski just saying, the Prime Minister finally speaks. He says we must do all we can to sustain the ceasefire. Surely that must mean suspending U.S. military from UK soil. The president is not some abstract threat. We've seen repeatedly exactly who he is, and we should have no part in it. And as for how that ceasefire went, this is from Global News. High-stake talks end without a deal as Iran refuses U.S. terms.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, senior...
Oh, and this is just from earlier today.
Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner departed Pakistan without a peace deal following face-to-face talks with Iranian leaders and Pakistani negotiators. Key issues included Tehran's control of the Strait of Hormuz and Israel's ongoing conflict with Iranian proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon.
The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear.
And there is some truth in that. Like, this will hurt Iran. Like, all of this will hurt the people in Iran far more than it will hurt the Americans. Because Americans will suffer through increased prices and things, or people who end up boots on the ground situation and are over there in the conflict. But their entire city isn't being obliterated. They aren't having black sludge being rained down on top of them because of these bombings. They aren't having their entire infrastructure destroyed. You know, they're not being crushed to death in rubbles of bombs. Iran does not want this to happen. And so if there was a way that they could resolve it, that they would feel secure with, they would take it. But the United States at this point can't be trusted. And Iran wants to set themselves in such a way that this isn't a threat again, because the United States has been trying this for a while, trying to instigate this for a while, and they just want to be in a position where they no longer have to worry about that as a threat. And yeah.
Here, what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. The simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they
Yeah, you're not accepting our terms after we invaded you.
will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, we had seen that. It was already in place. It was already a thing. Already a thing. He's just lying.
We hope that we will. We just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get...
Says the people who have actually bombed negotiators. They have actually targeted people that were trying to do negotiations.
A deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway.
Okay, a little bit more. So the situation in Lebanon is also escalating. Israel is responsible for thousands upon thousands of deaths there. Their infrastructure buildings being wiped out. And Jake here is just pointing out to Anita Anand, our foreign affairs minister, you cannot condemn Israel's airstrikes while Canada supplies parts for Israel's F-35 jets. And here's her statement on the situation in Lebanon. The respect and protection of civilians are not negotiable and require under international law. We thus call on Israel to respect Lebanon's territorial integrity and for Hezbollah to immediately disarm and implement decisions issued by the government of Lebanon. Gotta mention Hezbollah on that one, because this is all Hezbollah is doing what Israel is doing to them. And has it ever worked? You know, calling on Israel to respect like international law, that sort of thing. Has that worked yet? You keep on doing it. But has it worked once? To say, yeah, you should do this thing. But without any consequences, without any pushback, they just keep on doing it. Furthermore, we call on Israel and Hezbollah to implement and adhere to permanent ceasefire. We strongly condemn the airstrikes launched by Israel across Lebanon, including in Beirut, which killed civilians and targeted civilian infrastructure, also known as war crimes. At the same time, we strongly condemn Hezbollah's indiscriminate attacks against Israel and its people. Retaliation is not the same thing as an indiscriminate attack. You can condemn Israel without having to mention another group, you know. They can be two separate things. You can condemn Hamas and Hezbollah for when they do bad things. But you can also condemn Israel without acknowledging them. Just saying, you can try that. Canada firmly supports the Lebanese government's efforts to restore and exercise full state authority, including through disarmament of Hezbollah, a listed terrorist organization, to advance credible and durable diplomatic solution. Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty must be respected. Well, it's not being respected. It's not. And you're not doing anything about it. And quite honestly, Israel needs to be listed as a terrorist organization. Because they're responsible for a fucking genocide right now. I think they're the biggest terrorist threat. Not Hezbollah, not Hamas. Israel. And Mark Carney was asked, you know what, maybe we should do sanctions, huh? Can we do sanctions? You know, actually do an action to this, to what Israel is doing? How about that? How about just some bare minimum stuff? And so CJPME had tweeted out, when asked if Canada should consider sanctions to stop Israel's murderous bombing of Lebanon, Carney dismisses the idea, saying, I wouldn't go to what you're suggesting as the method at this delicate point in time. We all know that Carney's status quo is a failure. Canada's influence is not enough to stop Israel's mass killing of civilians across the region. Sanctions are absolutely necessary to force an end to Israel's aggression and withdraw of its illegal invasion. And as I've said time and time again, Israel will only stop what they're doing under two conditions. And the first one is they complete their objectives, which is a horrifying thought. The other way that they will stop is if the other nations force them to. Those are the two things that are going to happen right now. So either Israel will get away with doing whatever they want, or other nations will force them to stop. And Canada, which actually does have leverage in this situation, ain't doing shit.
Despite the ceasefire, Israel continues to bomb Lebanon. Does something need to be done to keep Israel in check to help bring peace to the region, maybe such as sanctions?
Thank you for the question. The ceasefire is very fragile. I think that's obvious. The ceasefire needs to include Lebanon. That certainly had been the understanding, and that needs to be the reality on the ground. That, of course, means that Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, needs to be brought under control. That is the effort of the government of Lebanon as well. And Canada will use its offices, its influence to support. I wouldn't go to what you're suggesting as the method at this point, at this delicate point in time, in order to advance. But the ceasefire needs to include Lebanon and needs to include it now.
Follow-up?
That was good timing. I just needed to grab another drink. As I'm crunching on some chocolate. Sorry, I just need to finish chewing this. With the scratch at the back of my throat, with this, what I'm fairly certain is another cold coming on. I tend to drink a lot more, just to kind of soothe it. But, yeah. The longer I'm going on, the more I'm suspecting I did catch another cold back to back, which is super fucking annoying. Anyway, so Prime Minister Carney says Canada not considering sanctions Israel over Lebanon strikes. Oh. So they have violated international law. They have committed war crimes. They initiated this attack. They have done 1,000-fold more than other nations that have been sanctioned. If there was a line, it got crossed a long time ago and they forgot where it was. So Prime Minister Mark Carney said Thursday Canada is not considering sanctions on Israel after it attacked Lebanon this week and appeared to violate a ceasefire agreement in the Middle East. No, Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants. Canada won't do anything. U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire with Iran just hours before a Tuesday night deadline. And Israel almost immediately violated that. Despite the agreement, Israel attacked Beirut on Wednesday in a renewed effort to strike the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. Those blasts killed at least 203 people and wounded hundreds more, the deadliest day of war in Lebanon since the latest conflict began on February 28th. That alone should have been called for sanctions. But there should have been sanctions again long before now, maybe when they first started to attack Gaza and commit genocide there. That's when the sanctions should have started, but all you did was teach Israel that they can get away with it. They can do whatever they want. Let's see. New article here. U.S. military says it will blockade Iranians' ports after ceasefire talk ended without agreement. Great, you want to put in there siege. You want to put in their country under siege like Cuba. I haven't seen this yet. It's breaking news.
To the latest now on the war in Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy will begin blocking ships that try to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. That's after peace talks in Pakistan failed to end in a deal. On Truth Social, Trump says while the meeting went well and most points were agreed to, there was no agreement on the only point that really mattered, that Iran no longer poses a nuclear threat. He referred to the Iranian blockade of the Strait as world extortion, saying world leaders will never be extorted.
You can't extort us. We'll extort you first. So, Iran, you're going to block the Hormuz? Well, so will we. It's just... Again, no concept of consequences and what this is going to do to the global economy, to the world. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care.
The president elaborated on his comments during a phone call with Fox News today.
Very disappointed with NATO. Very, very disappointed that they didn't come. Now they want to come and they want to help with the Strait, and it won't take long to clean it out. So we're going to clean out the Strait, and they'll be able to use the Strait in not too long a distance.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who led the U.S. delegation in yesterday's peace talks, which reportedly went on for 21 hours, says a number of issues were discussed without going into much detail.
Just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible. We were quite accommodating. The president told us you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to make
Countries remain in a fragile ceasefire agreement.
After 21 hours of negotiations, even though there is no...
Let's just see. U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday said the U.S. Navy would immediately begin blockade of ships entering or leaving the Strait of Hormuz after U.S.-Iran ceasefire talks in Pakistan ended without an agreement. Let's see. CENTCOM said the blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations. It said it would still allow ships traveling between non-Iranian ports to transit the Strait of Hormuz. Trump wants to weaken Iran's key leverage in the war after demanding that it reopen the strait to all global traffic on the waterway that was responsible for 20% of the global oil shipping before fighting began. Yeah. Iran says, if you fight, we will fight. Iran's Revolutionary Guard later said the strait remained under Iran's full control and was open for non-military vessels, but military ones would get a forceful response to official Iranian news agencies reported. No word on what will happen after the ceasefire expires. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. Refusal to put sanctions on Israel. And Kylie here, this is so unfathomably inhumane, cruel, and the world just keeps letting Israel get away with treating human beings this way over and over. Breaking, Israel is dropping white phosphorus bombs on civilians areas in Tiri, South Lebanon. These are internationally banned munitions, and Israel is using them against civilians. That should be a sanctionable offense. Just saying. Then, this video came out today, and the title here. Really? This is from CTV News. Black smoke rises over southern Lebanon after reported Israeli airstrike. Oh, they changed it. They changed it. Oh my God. Because when I first saw that, they just had black smoke rises over southern Lebanon, and that was it. You changed it. You changed it because earlier, that's why I had it here. It left out those last 4 words, which would make you wonder what was causing that black smoke. Let's see. If I hover over this, will it give me the title?
Meanwhile, plumes of black smoke rose over southern Lebanon today as Lebanese state news says Israeli warplanes carried out an airstrike. The Israeli military says it struck Hezbollah rocket launchers overnight into today. In Israeli villages near the border, sirens sounded, warning of incoming rocket fire from Lebanon. The Lebanese health ministry says more than 90 people were killed in strikes Saturday, bringing the war's death toll there to over 2,000 people. Pope Leo says he feels close to the Lebanese people and is once again calling for a ceasefire after 7 weeks of fighting.
Just a couple odds and ends at the end here. Because there was another genocide that happened not too long ago, and the serfs here saying, if you're against the genocide, why are you still arming Israel? Because the Prime Minister's office had sent out this. Today we remember and reflect on the horrific 1994 genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda. We honor the victim, survivor, and everyone whose lives were changed forever by the atrocities commit to building a better world where such horrors are never forgotten or repeated. Yeah, so that was tweeted out, April 7th. So just a few days ago. Yes, we must commit to building a better world where such horrors are never forgotten or repeated. You can say that. You send this out while we are currently sending weapons to a state committing genocide. There's no, self-awareness going on here. There's no self-reflection. There's nothing. It's just empty space inside these people's brains. I wonder if there's comments under here. Incredible timing, you spineless idiots. Canada only recognizes a genocide once the victims are dead and long turned to dust. But you ignored the genocide against the Palestinians, and you both siding genocidal statements by the U.S. president. You're a disgrace. You can start by demonstrating your commitment by condemning POTUS threats today. This is so embarrassing considering you support U.S.-Israel genocide on Palestine, Iran. Shameful. But here is a sliver of good news. We'll take what we can get, but this is kind of like throwing a cup of water onto a forest fire. And this is from The Grind in Toronto. Organizers end Giller Prize boycott, says demands have been met. The embattled literary organization is no longer sponsored by Scotiabank, Indigo, or I don't know how to say that, foundation. Organizers confirmed. The Grind spoke to several authors about what this means for the future of the prize. So calls to boycott the Giller Prize have officially come to an end. Organizers with CanLit Responds announced on Thursday. The decision comes after confirmation the Canadian Book Awards is no longer sponsored by Scotiabank and the Azerel Foundation and is not receiving financial support from Indigo, all of which face criticism for their investments and complicity in Israel's occupation of Palestine and genocide in Gaza. The nationwide boycott began in the summer of 2024 when dozens of authors pledged to withdraw their work from consideration for the Giller Prize. Eventually, the boycott amassed signatures from more than 500 Canadian authors and bookworkers, dealing a reputational blow to what was long considered one of the country's most prestigious literary prizes. In a press statement, CanLit Responds described the campaign as success, signaling the close of a chapter in the larger struggle against art washing of genocide and the role of armed funding in Canada's art sector. After more than 1 year of our boycott and more than 2 years of collective organizing, of the strategic withholding of our labor and of our refusal to allow our work to launder the reputations of those who aid and abet suffering of Palestinians, we have struck a material blow against the perpetration and enabling of Israel's genocide, the statement reads. The statement also notes that in 2023, Scotiabank was the largest foreign shareholder in Elbit Systems, Israel's largest weapons manufacturer. Today, the immense pressure from CanLit Responds and other arts worker organizations in the No Arms in the Arts coalition, that stake has been reduced to zero. This is a fairly lengthy article. The Grind is usually very detailed, so I'm just going to toss the rest of this into the SandBox for you guys, so you can read it if you like. But sometimes we get a win. There we go. Okay, main shot. Close these tabs because my computer is mad at me. There we go. Close, close, close. Close, 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 and close. And so next, I want to talk about the floor crossing. That happened here this week in Canada. Because that's a super long docket that I have. But again, it's kind of fun, kind of not, kind of sickening. The Liberal Party has just become trash collectors at this point when it comes to who they'll accept in their party. I also do have a federal news docket and a provincial news docket. I'll see how I'm feeling at the end of this, because part of me thinks if I'm still feeling well enough, I need to plow through all of it tonight, because I'm pretty sure I've come down with another cold after not even fully recovering from the first one, which means I will be laid out for the next few days. But maybe, just maybe, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be fine, because it's just like a little micro bug or something. I'm going to check the SandBox. Oh, scrolled up as high as I can go. Hello, Morbius. Let's see. And hello to everyone else who has jumped into the SandBox. Boku saying I can't watch about the footage of the villages being destroyed. Can't blame you. Groove Dragon, when news reports are snuff films, yeah. I feel that in particular with all the footage of the boats of the Venezuelan boats being bombed. Like, to me, for some reason in particular, those ones feel like snuff videos. But that's exactly what they are at this point. Looney Tunes, I'm tired as fuck of Grandpa President. I was already embarrassed at the UFC. Fuck you, UFC. I think there was something about that today. Joe Rogan and Trump walking hand in hand or something. Groove Dragon, threatening war crimes is a war crime. Yeah. It's also in Canada's hate speech stuff. You're not allowed to advocate for genocide. That can get you in severe trouble here in Canada. Yep. But apparently the President of the United States can advocate for it without any consequence. But if I were to say something that extreme that I'm not even going to say, maybe towards a state, like, I don't know, Israel, then I could get in a lot of trouble. But I would never advocate for genocide of anyone. Let's just put it that way. That's not something I would ever do. Because as much as I hate what these countries are doing, I would never say everyone in it should suffer. Danny Garnon. The movie War Games include a section where they replace humans with computers for the nukes because humans wouldn't shoot nukes willingly. That is something that I've been thinking about with AI. Like when it comes to things even as simple as like campaign ads and stuff like that, they can use AI to get people, you know, images of people saying things that you can never pay an actor to do. Because most actors would be like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't talk about, you know, somebody who's a woman can't talk about, you know, destroying all of their rights or something of that sort. They couldn't find people to actually say that. So they can just develop AI to do it. And AI getting involved with drone strikes and stuff like that is a thing that's being developed and stuff in the programming on how that happens and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a way to remove all sense of humanity from it, because it can get so advanced where AI will actually select the targets as well and then just go out, do the strike, and come back. And it's scary because when you take out all elements of humans in it, then there is no conscience, there is no second guessing, you know. It's a horrifying future that we're currently living in. Russiator. Trump said he wanted to liberate the Iranian women. Now he wants to nuke them to save them. Yeah. Groove Dragon. Greta for president of the world. I can get behind that. Hello, True Democratic North. Let's see. Jed, I would like out of this endless Twilight Zone episode now, please. Yeah. Let's see. Lucky Dragon, I guess you're heading out, so have a good night. Let's see. Oh, hello, Atticus among us. I can't recall if I said hi to you yet, so hi. Age of Twitler. Vance just got booted from the 2028 GOP ticket. And welcome to the SandBox. I don't think they were meaning for real. I think just because of some of his actions. I don't think Vance on his own would ever make it onto the ticket. He's not leadership material. I think they know that. It's not going to be him. It's going to be Tucker Carlson. Let's see. Age of Twitler, the Constitution gets the oath, not a flag. Bobby, we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning before class. Yeah. Atticus among us. The flag is only a representation. In times like this, it doesn't earn my allegiance or respect. Bad lefty, LOL, double blockade of the strait, yeah. Let's see. Oops. And where did it jump to? There we go. Oh, that's the link I tossed in. Bad lefty, Sandy, call it. We will be fine. Your health is your wealth. Go to bed. My energy is fine. It's just I'm feeling it. But my energy is fine. Yeah. But I imagine by the time I get ready to go to bed tonight, I'm just, yeah. Let's just say the scratch in the back of my throat isn't getting any better. Bobby, that's the reason AI is so scary. Look at what it's training it. Humans destroy and kill. If you want to be really horrified, watch a YouTube short movie called Slaughterbot. I can't show it on here because copyright issues and stuff. But just go into YouTube and look for Slaughterbot. That is scary. Super scary. Bobby, it may just be allergies. No, I don't think so. Oh, have I said hi to the Wild West yet? Hello. Scared at the idea of President Tucker Carlson? Yeah. Okay, why don't we get into this docket? It's a bit long because there's a lot to cover with this particular floor crossing. So the federal government, the liberals, there's already been a bunch of conservatives that have crossed the floor over to the liberals, much to the chagrin of Pierre Poilievre, who used to be very much in favor of them and very much against the idea of having to hold by-election should they happen. Now he's kind of teetered on that. So this is the latest floor crossing. And so the conservatives that have crossed so far, it kind of made sense. You know, they were pretty much in line with Mark Carney. Mark Carney was just the better conservative leader. You could see it. You could understand it. Then an NDP MP crossed the floor, and that one was a bit like, huh? A little bit of a mind boggle, because the NDP and the Liberal Party in general don't stand for the same thing. And the NDP MP could have at least waited until they knew who their new leader was. I'm just saying, you could have waited until you found out who your new leader would be. So that one was a bit mind-boggling. Well, now another conservative has crossed the floor, and this one... So there's just no standards. None. Like, absolutely zero. Because she is a white right-wing conspiracy nut job. Like, just more right-wing than Pierre Poilievre. Like, the fact that Mark Carney would accept her says everything you need to know about the so-called Liberal Party, as in, it's not a party based on policy or principles. It is just a party that is desperate to grab power. That's all it's about right now. It just wants to grab power, and it doesn't care who they accept within the ranks, because there's the so-called big tent, but that big tent got blown away in a storm, apparently, because there's no tent at this point. Everyone is welcome. Hell, I could become a Liberal MP. They'd probably care about me. They wouldn't accept someone like me, but they'll accept somebody that is like the polar opposite of me. So someone who is for conversion therapy, who hates queer people, who was espousing anti-vax stuff, who is horrible in so many ways, but they would get accepted. Somebody like me, probably not. The Liberal Party cannot claim to stand for anything at this point if they accept this, because they accepted this person in. They cannot claim to stand for anything. And every single goddamn Liberal MP that is in that party should be fucking ashamed of yourself that you're not becoming an independent. Anyone who's there who claims that they are a liberal, who isn't crossing the floor to independence, should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. How can you share the floor with somebody who is against all the policies that you've been working towards? How can you just accept her into the fold? You know what your party is doing. You know it. Just like those cops in the UK know that arresting those peaceful protesters is wrong. You know what Mark Carney is doing is wrong and goes against your principles and your values that you claim to have as a liberal. You know it. But you're putting your seat above the people that you serve, above your own principles. You're all shallow, hollow people, and should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. So, the latest floor crosser. And this is from the Serve, saying she's a pro-Trump anti-vaxxer who's in favor of torturing LGBTQ plus children. What even are you anymore? And so here's Mark Carney. Statement about it. At this important moment in our country's future, Canadians with a broad range of experience and perspectives are uniting to build Canada strong. And that's very much a conservative slogan right there, Canada strong. I'm honored to welcome Marilyn Gladu today as the newest member of the government and our Liberal caucus. In a time of global economic uncertainty, Canada's success will depend on how we build ambition into progress and strengthens into sustained advantage. Marilyn brings the practical, results-driven leadership that the Zephyr demands. This anti-vaxxer is practical, you say. Results-driven? She's also against abortion, And it gets pointed out by Rachel Gilmore in my last video that I have on this, but also it's just worth saying right now. They didn't need to accept her. They're going to have a majority in the very near future anyway because of the by-elections that are happening, 2 of which are almost guaranteed to go in the Liberals' favor. You didn't have to accept her to get that majority. You just didn't. You didn't have to stoop that low. You didn't have to go collect that garbage to add into your ranks. You pollute your entire party by bringing her in. Wow, that's quite the trending list right now. Justin Trudeau, Kavanaugh, Swalwell. Just seeing that off to the side here. So more from the statement. Having spent decades of her career in engineering and international business, she understands what it takes to create jobs and strength. Okay, no, actually, I'm done reading this. Looking forward to working with her, you say. So here's a little video on it. Scott Robertson had tweeted this out. PM Mark Carney welcomes Ontario MP Marilyn Gladue, the 5th MP to cross the floor to Carney's Liberal and the 4th from the Conservatives to the Liberal caucus.
It is a great pleasure to welcome Marilyn Gladue to, and we'll do it officially, so
yes.
This is a handshake in English, officially to the government caucus and to the Liberal caucus. Marilyn has tremendous experience in business as an engineer, international business experience, and 10 years, 4 elections of experience in Parliament.
Okay, I'm done listening to the bullshit. We don't need to listen to the whole thing. So here's her statement, which I'm not going to bother reading in full, just saying proud to be the newest member of our new Liberal government. So that is the approach I will advance as the newest member of Prime Minister Mark Carney's team in government as we work together to build a brighter future for all in a stronger Canada. So actually, what's the first sentence here? The past year has been like no other Canada has ever faced. I've heard clearly from constituents that you want serious leadership and a real plan to be stronger and more independent in Canadian economy. That's why I've decided to join Prime Minister Mark Carney in Canada's new government. But as I point out, got 7 likes on this. Woo, going viral. 2 of them are mine. Liberal Party has no principles. Shame on Mark Carney for accepting this floor crossing. But considering he can't call out the U.S. for their attacks on Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela, and Israel for their genocide in Gaza and attacks on other countries, I can't say I'm surprised. Yeah. The person who can't put sanctions on Israel for the war crimes they're committing in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Iran, who can't condemn the United States, who will still send weapons to help out with these genocides, accepting a right-winger into the caucus, is that the bridge too far? No, there's no integrity there. There's just none. No, He's just... He has no integrity. He has no principles. Mark Carney is not a party. He is a banker. And he is just a politician that will accept anyone in so that he can coalesce power. He didn't need to accept her to get that power, but he's taken it anyway because, it's kind of like money. You can't have enough. You can never have too much or something like that. And he's a banker, so that philosophy probably flies in his face. But come on. You didn't have to accept this right-wing bigot. Oh, and this was the serfs pointing out, Liberals power at any cost. So Marilyn Gladue, let those truckers roll, 10-4, standing up for freedom. Yes, she was in support of the trucker convoy. And so Juno News was tweeting out, Polyev slams Marilyn Gladue for joining the Liberals, calling them the most costly government in Canadian history, and says she should face by-election. He also bashes PM Mark Carney for securing majority through dirty backroom deals.
Mark Carney is saying to Canadians, your vote does not count, that he will overpower the decision that you made through dirty backroom deals that give him unrestrained power to raise your taxes and increase your costs, and to pursue a liberal agenda that is the opposite of what he promised.
He can't get through an entire speech without adding in a dozen slogans. And I sped this up for your viewing pleasure.
He's fabricating a costly majority government through dirty backroom deals that liberals did not tell Canadians about during the election and that people rejected. I feel badly for Ms. Gladew's constituents, the strong majority of whom voted for our conservative vision of an affordable and safe Canada. In fact, and if I can be blunt, under my leadership, she had a massive increase in the conservative vote in her riding. And she said that she was going to stand up for the conservative values of affordability and safety. Now, she has joined the most costly Liberal government in Canadian history, going back on her word. She has said that members of Parliament that flip parties after they were elected, promising to be in a different one, should be forced to run in a by-election. I couldn't agree more. In fact...
Really? Because you didn't agree with yourself earlier when it was benefiting you.
I believe that constituents in her riding and every riding should be able to petition for a by-election whenever a member of Parliament changes parties.
Yeah, anyway, I'm in agreement. If you want to switch parties, if you're so, what's the word, confident in that party, then you should run as that party. You don't get to keep your cushy job as MP when you switch parties, because there's always this back and forth argument of people saying that, well, you vote for a representative, you don't vote for a party, and that's kind of bullshit. People were voting for the Liberal Party. They were voting for Mark Carney. They weren't voting for their local representative. The only time I hear people use that justification is when they want to justify voting Conservative. I've had family members do that. It's like, well, I don't like the Conservative Party, but my representative, I really like them. Like, they were really good in the debate and blah, blah, blah. So they use that as justification to vote in a party that they know is toxic and bad. Or they'll get like the stink eye from people if they acknowledge that they voted for them. That's the only time. Okay, that's not the only time, because then you have somebody like Mike Green, who was a Green MP. He was voted in based on who he is. He did the work. He got into the community. I said his name wrong. It's Matthew Green. It's not Mike Green. Mike Morrison, who was the Green MP. He got in because of who he is. And that takes a shit ton of work in order to pull that off. But the vast majority of time, people are voted in based on the party, not based on who they are. Most people don't even know the name of their MP. They wouldn't be able to name them off the top of their head if they had to look them up. So that's just it. If you want to switch parties, you need to run a by-election. But as Flavio points out, once upon a time in the cold Ottawa winter of 2012, an MP named Matthew, I don't know how to say that, stood up in the House of Commons with a new rule. He presented Bill C-306, a law proposing that any politician who switches parties must automatically face a by-election to keep their seat. The bill went to a vote. A Conservative MP named Pierre Poilievre looked at this idea and formally voted nay. On February 8th, 2012, he helped defeat the legislation ensuring politicians could cross the floor without legally being forced back to the ballot box. Fast forward 14 years to April 2026, a Conservative MP named Marilyn Gladue packs up her desk and crosses the floor to join the Liberals. The very next day, Pierre Poilievre takes to the microphones. He loudly demands that she face a by-election for switching teams, demanding the exact consequence he had previously voted to prevent. Yeah, that's the thing, Pierre, is you've been doing this politics thing for a while. There's lots of records of what you have said and voted on. And so Don Davies is just pointing out, indeed, the NDP has been introducing legislation for 20 years to require floor crossers to put their decision to the test of their voters where it belongs. Both Cons and Liberals voted no. Glad to see the Cons now agree. And somebody has pointed out, it's like, oh, well, the NDP is just bitter because nobody has crossed the floor to them. There's a reason for that, is because the NDP doesn't accept floor crossers. So, no, they wouldn't have people floor crossing to them because they don't accept them. But I wanted to go back a couple tweets with this. So John Iveson is just saying this is all very commendable, except Pierre Poilievre voted against legislation that would have obliged floor crossers to seek endorsement under their new party banner in by-election. And so this is Pierre Poilievre's tweet about it. Mark Carney is seizing a costly Liberal majority that voters denied him, and doing so through backroom deals. In January, MP Gladue said that floor crossers should face voters in a by-election to give voters the final say. I could not agree more. So that was just a few months ago that she was saying this. But Pierre was saying that before then, or not saying that before then. When it benefited him, he was fine. They don't need to have a by-election. So she should do so. People in her community voted for a conservative vision of Canada that is affordable, safe, and strong at home, not the costly Liberal government she is now joined. Actually, the people who voted for a conservative vision, they got that. They got that with Mark Carney. She should honor her word and let the voters decide. And so here's somebody then this you? Huh? I think this is him from 2019.
Leona Alislev is a former Liberal member of Parliament with a very distinguished track record in private life before she entered politics, a background in defense and business, and who made the decision on conscience to leave the Liberal Party about 6 or 7 months ago and join with Andrew Scheer's Conservatives. Leona Alislev is...
Kind of caught you there. You are more than happy to accept floor crossers. Looney Tunes, unfortunately, I can't speed it up to chipmunk mode. YouTube automatically keeps the pitch of the voice normal. It's my video editing program that when you speed it up, it goes into chipmunk mode because it doesn't adjust the audio automatically. So here is Avi Lewis speaking on this, on floor crossings. And so I don't need to read the quote because he says it.
You know, we've seen floor crossings happening. There's rumors of more happening. What do you make of the Liberals building a majority on negotiations, not elections?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Canadians are starting to go, does our vote count if we vote for somebody and then they just end up in the other party? The NDP has a
Yeah, all you strategic voters who didn't want the Conservatives in.
policy that we believe that if you want to cross the floor, you should resign and let people have a by-election and re-elect you because they voted for a party. The parties should mean different things. You and the Conservatives agree on something. Well, there you go. No, but I mean, parties should mean something, right? And people can trust that the NDP stands for working people and their everyday needs. And I think that, you know, I think Canadians are starting to question what this majority government will mean if Carney can assemble it. And I don't know. I think it's troubling.
You know, we've seen floor crossings happening.
And so this is their official statement on the floor crossing from Leah Kazan, NDP critic for women and gender equality, issued the following statement. It is outrageous but not surprising that in his drive to stitch together a majority government, Prime Minister Mark Carney is further sacrificing long-held Liberal positions on issues of fundamental rights. Marilyn Gladue is known for far-right social conservative. Known as a far-right social conservative. She's listed as anti-choice by Abortion Rights Coalitions of Canada. She ran for leader of the Conservative Party of Canada with a promise to allow Conservative members to introduce legislation restricting abortion. And she opposed a ban on conversion therapy. She was also publicly rebuked by her own former leader for spreading vaccine misinformation. We are seeing more evidence every day that Mark Carney is a conservative, and there are now two conservative parties in the House of Commons. New Democrats will never stop fighting for gender equality and for reproductive rights. And so, yeah, somebody pointing out, imagine voting strategically only to see Mark Carney welcome Marilyn Gladue into the Liberal Party. Yeah, you voted strategically to make sure that the Conservatives wouldn't be in, and then Mark Carney just welcomes them into the party. Because Krista Avalos was saying Gladue is arguably more right-wing than Poilievre. The Liberals who said you needed to vote for them to stop people like Gladue just welcomed her with open arms. This is not AI. So Marilyn, apparently, is a failed community theater actor who wants to get her groove on. So the serfs here quote tweeting this, the lesson is that you can be an anti-vax freak show who wanted to physically and sexually torture children to death, but as long as you help the liberals get a majority, tent is big enough. So this is the wrong color, but you'll find out what this is in a second. This is not AI.
The liberals are in for 4 long years.
A conservative so dyed in the wool she dressed up as death.
Death is not ready for you.
To pump up her election-defeated colleagues a decade ago.
The liberals are in.
So she is just a failed community theater actor that's desperate to be a performer. Because it's not just this. It's not. I wish. But David Dole's quote tweeting this out. Carney's new Liberal MP listed as anti-choice, spread vaccine misinformation, wanted conversion therapy, said Trump restored freedom of speech to America, and on the fiscal side, he's very strong, is an anti-pot poet. Again, this is not AI. If you like her horrible gospel music, you'll love her deranged anti-pot poetry.
Mr. Speaker, I want to protest an ill-thought-out bill that is passing through Parliament here on the Hill. The bill that is bad is called C-45. It has so many flaws it just shouldn't survive. The grits will allow 4 pot plants in each dwelling, regardless of how bad each place will be smelling. With mold, ventilation as issues unplanned, this bill will not keep pot from our children's hand. There are more new infractions within this new rule that our courts will be flooded, as will every school. With drug-impaired driving and challenges there, the doubling of traffic deaths, and Liberals don't care. The provinces and police in every town have all asked the Liberals to slow this bill down. With nearly 200 more days left till the day, nobody but our party stands in the way. We hope that the Senate will do its true deed and keep our great country safe from all the weed.
L'honorable député de Pontiac.
Mr. Speaker, I want to protest.
And it can't just be me who's like, she's saying it in the same rhythm of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. You could have just gotten into dinner theater. If you wanted to do all this, you could have just done dinner theater. I know it doesn't pay as well as an MP. You could have. You didn't have to do this. This is, maybe just get your own YouTube channel and do shit like this. But to do it on the House floor is fucking embarrassing. There's more. Badrino Politics saying, yes, questioning an MP who endorsed horse medicine for COVID and also hates gay people is purity testing. Because even Evan here is saying, we cannot act like this is a crisis, then purity test conservatives who cross. Either we have the luxury of pickiness or we don't. If it's a crisis, we don't. Fuck Gladu's previous beliefs, sure, but I'd much rather her voting for us than against us. See, people get upset with us for purity testing, but no, we just have standards. Having standards is a good thing. If you want your party to be credible and have any principles or you know, any, what's the word? Oh, it's right there. If you want your party to have any integrity, that's not the word. You can't just be accepting anyone. Sometimes gates are good. A certain level of gatekeeping for any group that you're in is good. It's a good thing. You can't just accept everyone or it pollutes your entire organization. Like, come on. And so here again is Evan saying, I'm excited to welcome Marilyn Gladu as she joins our Liberal team in building a stronger, more united Canada. I've known Marilyn for a long time, and she spent years fighting for blah, blah bullshit. So I think it was Lori, I don't know how to say her last name. Ido? Lori Ido? She was the NDP MP who crossed the floor to the Liberals. Is she regretting that move now? That someone like Marilyn has been accepted into that party? You really want to share a bench with her? You really feeling like you're valued in that party, or you're just a number to them? That's all you are. You're just a number. So, Censored here is just saying, how nice of the Liberals to welcome Avi Lewis to federal politics by gifting Toronto to the NDP. This looks bad now. How do you think this will going to play in 3 years? Anyway, here's a video of a previous meeting between Evan Solomon and Marilyn Gladu. So this guy here is that guy there, and this woman here is that woman there.
Where does it stop? Like, did you have a problem when the school system is asking if our kids have got their polio vaccination?
Well, I think, in terms of the risk, people...
Oh. Just getting notified that we got a raid. Thank you so much to Kevin Logan for raiding the channel. I super appreciate it. And thank you everyone for highlighting my name, because that's the only way we can tell now. Because it used to be a nice big gray rectangle at the top of chat that you could see out of the corner of your eye. And that was just a little black bar on a black background that lets you know you're being raided. So thank you for letting me know. I super appreciate it. Everyone go check out Kevin Logan's channel. Yes, we are just talking about a floor crosser, which you would understand there on your side of the pond jumpers. I'm trying to, I don't know your politics well enough to do a comparison. It'd be like Keir Starmer accepting, I'm trying to, fuck, I know, I can see his name at the tip of my tongue. Whoever is a fucking right-winger nut job into his party. That's what happened here. That's what happened here. This woman is a raving lunatic right-winger that Mark Carney, the supposed leader of the Liberals, accepted into their caucus. And so this is a Liberal MP here, Evan Solomon, saying, yeah, I'm welcome. This is great. Super great to have her on our team. And this is him from the past arguing with her, I think, over her stance on being anti-vax. Bad lefty. Boris Johnson? I think she's more right-wing than Boris. Farage. The Wild West. Farage was the name I was looking for. Boris Johnson. I think she's more right-wing than Boris Johnson. Because I don't think Boris Johnson had principles.
Where does it stop? Like, did you have a problem when the school system is asking if our kids have got their polio vaccination?
Well, I think, in terms of the risk, people that got polio, many of them died and many of them were crippled. And that is not the same frequency of risk that we see with COVID-19, although COVID-19 has killed people, as you rightly pointed out. And so what I think we need to do is
COVID
make
has
sure
killed,
we have...
I just have to be clear. You're saying that COVID's not as bad as polio? Like, COVID has killed significantly more people in a shorter time than polio did in Canada. I'm not trying to compare tragedies, but the medical, I'm just trying, I know you're an engineer.
I'm just receiving the information from medical experts that talk about the relative risk. I'm not a doctor myself. So.
Then shut up about your medical advice. How about that?
They're saying, the president of the Canadian Medical Association has said mandatory vaccinations work. Every medical association, the Public Health Agency of Canada, are saying these mandatory vaccinations are working. Like, if you're listening to the data, wouldn't you support making sure everybody's vaccinated?
Well, I think there's multiple sources of data out there, and that's part of the work of this.
There's multiple sources. Not all of them are true or accurate, but I want to just rely on the sources that, confirm my biases.
Caucus is to take a look at all of the different data and sort through it and come to what the reasonable solutions are to ensure that everyone is safe and everyone's freedoms are protected.
Yeah. So only months ago, this was Gladue backing call for automatic by-elections. Rachel Gilmore, yeah, when a convoy supporting Conservative MP feels at home in the Liberal Party, what does that say about the party? This is really odd one. And this is from the Ottawa Citizen. During this period, some Conservative MPs cheered the arrival of convoy as the party opposed the Trudeau government's vaccine mandates for federal workers and travelers. On January 31st, Tory MP Marilyn Gladue posted a photo to social media of herself and caucus colleague Candice Bergen at a restaurant with two men Gladue described as hardworking truckers in Ottawa. And they're quote tweeting Sam Hirsch here, who is also pointing out, again, the trucker stuff. But also, it's just very funny to think Gladue and Lori Idote, I think that's how you say her name, together in the same party, and Lori Idote was the NDP MP that crossed the floor to the Liberals. Yeah. This is the biggest tent I've ever seen, a government party completely focused on winning power and absolutely nothing else. Also, Gladue voted against a bill to ban conversion therapy. How could Carney welcome her into his caucus and say that his party is a strong supporter of the LGBTQ+ community? So LGBTQ members outraged after Conservative MPs vote against bill outlawing conversion therapy. 2 of 3 MPs in southwestern Ontario say C6 passed this week lacks clarity. So yeah, she was one of them that voted against it. It still went through because, you know, they didn't hold the balance of power in that, fortunately. But yeah, she wants conversion therapy. She wants people to not have their reproductive rights. She doesn't want vaccines. She was okay with the truckers occupying Ottawa, in fact, encouraged them. She dressed up as death on the House floor. She had a poem about not wanting to smoke pot. Faye Johnstone is pointing out that she referred to transgendered lifestyle, Canada's new liberal MP. So somebody here pointing out the Liberals' newest MP, or back when C16 was on the floor. Would the member please answer the difficult question? There are many people in this country who do not believe that a transgendered lifestyle is God's plan or that it is medically beneficial. So if we pass legislation, would that then affect their ability to tell their children not to speak about those ideas in a public place? Yeah. And here's another Liberal MP being like, yeah, she was a bitch and a cunt. But, you know, now that she's on our side. So the Surf's pointing out the truth is both the Liberals and the Conservatives are accelerating climate change in the pocket of big oil, so it doesn't matter what they say publicly. And so Stephen Guilbeault says on Marilyn Gladue, see, that's a rhyme. I've heard her scream at, well, I don't need to say it because he says it.
I've heard her scream at me on a number of occasions on things like climate change. She's now joining a party who believes that climate is an issue and who is still putting in place measures to fight climate change. While when she joins us, she knows that this is where we stand.
Do you think she's changed her mind on all these things just because she joined the Liberal Party? Or is she going to benefit from having her right-wing influence in that party now? So diversity of perspective. Sam Hirsch is posting this article that came out just back in 2020. Gladue says she would allow private members' bill and healthy discussion on abortion rules. So even Stephen Harper, when he was prime minister of this country, conservative, he clamped down on talk about reproductive rights because he knew that trying to bring attention to that would only cause, this type of extremism on both sides. So it would make some of the conservatives more extreme, but then it would also bring out a lot more people on the progressive side. And he didn't want that because the people on the progressive side were on the right side of the issue. And so he didn't want to start that fire, but she's more than happy to. So this is Prime Minister Carney's message to Liberals uncomfortable with Marilyn Gladue joining the party.
Your message to Liberals who are uncomfortable with the idea of someone like Ms. Gladue, who's been open about her socially conservative views, joining your caucus?
Well, there's two things. One is we're fortunate to have somebody who has long experience in business, long experience. It brings.
So you didn't have anyone else, no one, experienced in business before. She's the first. That's why you had to let her in.
Great managerial and technical expertise. I mean, we're actually here at a project that requires that level of expertise. I mean, she's not going to run this project, but this is. You laugh. You're not laughing. Your colleagues are laughing. Just to be clear, Ms. Burke is not laughing. But you need a mix of expertise in government. You don't need a government of just lawyers. It's good to have some lawyers. You don't need a government.
There's a mix that is harmonized, and then there's a mix that is just pure bullshit. So it's like, you can have a salad, and you can put pecans in it, and it'll still be yummy. You can maybe put, depending on the dressing and stuff, maybe some raisins in it, and it's still kind of yummy. If you put a whole bunch of bullshit into that salad, it's not a good mix. I'm just saying, it's not a good mix. A salad with hints of bullshit, not a good mix. So, not all mixes are a good thing. I'm just saying. Like peanut butter and mint. Oh, I did that accidentally once with mint chocolate chips when I was baking cookies. Mint and peanut butter do not go together. So you can have bad mixes. This is just, no.
Government of just people who've been politicians. You need government. It's good to have doctors in your government. It's good to have people who've been engineers. It's good to have people who've worked in non-governmental organizations, who've worked in philanthropies, been teachers, been nurses, others. You want to have that diversity of perspective. We're getting more of that diversity, not just geographically, but from experience, at a time that's crucial for the country. So that's the core part of the message, and that's recognized. If you see the welcome of, and my colleagues obviously speak for themselves, but the welcome of other members who've come to our caucus, welcoming these people in. But what also everyone...
Yeah, is there has to be lines. Like, I would not welcome in a Nazi. Now, if that person had shown that they had changed, that they had done work, that they have done restorative justice, that they had a growth process, and they are now a former Nazi, I'm more than happy to accept them, talk to them, and encourage them to maintain course on being more progressive. But if somebody is like currently a Nazi, no. No. And so, where is any proof or evidence that Marilyn has changed on these ideas? Has she suddenly become pro-vaccine? Has she had growth in understanding? Or she just wants to be part of the winning team? That Pierre Poilievre is so bad at a leader. She'd rather go vote with the Liberals than be a part of Pierre Poilievre's team. And the thing is, again, Mark didn't need to accept her in order to get a majority in the very near future. They're just one seat away from a majority right now. They were going to have it. They were going to have it anyway.
One knows in that caucus room is the fundamental...
Anyway, that. And so somebody kind of pushes a bit more. Are there views that would disqualify other MPs from joining the Liberal Party? Well, maybe not. I'm just curious at this point if Pierre Poilievre wanted to cross the floor to the Liberals, if they would let him.
Other MPs that you
may be courting to cross the floor. If they hold, that would be disqualifiers from joining.
Il y a des valeurs de Parti libéral. We have our values of solidarity, of inclusivity, of sustainability, of the rights of women, of all the rights in the Charter of Freedom. We have.
He got rid of the Minister of Women Affairs and Diversity and Inclusion. He got rid of that minister. He's forced workers back to work. He has said nothing about Alberta using the notwithstanding clause to abuse trans children. Methinks you're pulling words out of your ass. It's a word salad, an ass, a tossed salad coming out of your ass. A word tossed salad coming out of your ass.
Those core values, those values don't change. Others come to support the mission of the party and the government at this
the mission of their pocketbook.
Crucial time. And we are fortunate that they take those decisions because they bring expertise, they bring perspectives, they bring energy, and they will help us work together.
Yeah. So, Christo Avalos, the Liberal membership applauds a homophobe who hates women's right to choose, the Liberal Party becoming more MAGA every single day. So, the Liberals had their convention over the weekend, and so just a few days after accepting this right-winger into their ranks, she got to speak at their convention. So Marilyn Gladue speaks at the Liberal Party convention. I know how to look past the usual politics, a step for the constituents who elected me as part of the strong new team in government. So she actually got to speak at their convention. Do you think there's anyone there that is like Palestinian speaking or anti-imperialist or, anything like that speaking, you think? Anyone on the progressive side speaking? No, they'll let this right-winger speak at their convention, but I seriously doubt any progressives were.
Carney Liberal team is delivering on. In hundreds of facilities in as an experience.
Oh, you don't need to listen to her. And
there's a Liberal.
So there's this video here from Rachel Gilmore where she goes over some of this. She also has a montage in the middle here of more right-wing stuff, some that I've already showed you, some that I haven't showed you, of some of the right-wing stuff that Marilyn was saying. But this is a good video to watch. It's about 7 minutes long. I'm just going to toss the link into the SandBox so that you can go check out Rachel Gilmore in her channel. So that you can get to more about this, but
MP who supported the Freedom Convoy has had to apologize for sharing misinformation about COVID-19 and vaccines. Hey, I recognize that byline. Who vocally, and I mean vocally, opposed the legalization of cannabis, who has said she'd reopen the abortion debate, who voted against ending conversion therapy, who came under fire for linking Mexican visitors to the illegal drug trade, and who ran for conservative leadership in 2020. Yes, I did say a Liberal MP. I mean, technically she was a conservative MP until about 2 days ago, but Marilyn Gladue just crossed the floor. Need her floor crossing for a majority. Yeah. Unless something wild this is Carney didn't even need this. He didn't need her floor crossing for a majority. Unless something wild happens in the upcoming by-elections, 2 out of the 3 are in Liberal strongholds. They are almost definitely going to go Liberal. And that's all he needs to have his majority. Which, to be honest, I don't even like majorities in the first place. I think that democracy works better when you have a minority government with strong oppositions that are keeping the government on its toes. So while this theoretically gives Carney access to a slightly more comfortable majority, again, assuming those by-elections go as everyone under the sun is expecting them to go, Why would he do this? Unless Marilyn Gladue has had an overnight 180 in her politics that she has yet to share with the world, why would Mark Carney accept someone into the Liberal fold who isn't just a conservative, but is a true blue conservative? Someone, again, who sat down for dinner with freedom convoyers, who formed a civil liberties caucus to stand up for the rights of the unvaccinated, who loudly and repeatedly endorsed Pierre Poilievre to be the leader of the Conservative Party. All of this has me genuinely asking, for real, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Is this still a liberal party? And
no.
What does Mark Carney think that a liberal is?
I don't think he thinks. Anyway, let's close these. And close, 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 close. Close. Closing all these tabs. There we go. A linear. So let's see. Just checking my dockets. You know, they're not terribly long, so I think I will try to power through it. For those of you who are joining a bit later, I think I've come down with another cold. I haven't even fully recovered from my last one. And so while I would like to start splitting my live streams into two so that they're not so taxing on me, if I don't do it tonight, then I might not get around to it, because if this is a cold, and I'm strongly suspecting it is, because I'm feeling it more and more in the back of my throat, I'm going to be completely laid out for the next few days. And I put all these dockets together, and there's lots of good information. So I still have a docket on other federal news other than the floor crossing that just happened, and one on some provincial news. And I'd like, because again, it's important stuff that, you know, you don't necessarily get back to it. Like, you have to keep up with the news cycle because it's so fast and rampant and stuff. And I don't want these stories missed. The next one in particular, talking about, from Leah Gazan, talking about Indigenous peoples and stuff like that. It's important that this doesn't get missed. So I'm going to quickly check the SandBox, and then I'm just going to try to hammer through these. Okay, I think I saw those. Hello, Soul Life. Welcome to the SandBox. Hello, I get carried away. The Wild West, conservatives aren't allowed in community theater, then we end up with this. Yeah. Soul Life, anti-poet. Yeah. Just, Jed, this is just painful. Dr. Seuss, she is not. Yes, Pond Jumpers, you just missed. That floor crosser that I was just featuring, she had dressed up as Death at a convention for the conservatives talking about the liberal parties. So she had dressed up as Death, and then on the House floor, she had a poem that she put together that was anti-pot. I don't know if you get up to those type of shenanigans on your House floor in the UK, but apparently we do here in Canada. Lefty, 1%, less than 1% of doctors agree, but here we go, yapping anyway. The Wild West, Trudeau is cringe at Coachella right now, but I appreciate what he did about the convoy. Ford completely abandoned us. Yes, the city and province completely abandoned Ottawa. And I don't necessarily agree with everything that Justin Trudeau did, but had the municipality and province done what they were supposed to, Justin wouldn't have had to do those things. But for the sake of the people, the innocent people in Ottawa, it needed to get shut down. The Wild West, Seth Gladue cannot unsee. Real John Litham, you're laughing? I'm making speech and you're laughing? The Wild West, could we have some people who've taken a political science course? Yeah. Is the tent big enough for that? Bad lefty, but she's wearing red. She must be a commie now. It's liberal. Red is liberal here. My dyslexia always gets mixed up between the United States and Canada because the colors are reversed, the blue and the red. When they say they want a blue wave down in the States, it's like, right. Blue is there. Okay, yeah, switch it around. Real John Litham, pound jumping sounds fun and exciting. Bad lefty, grog is pound jumpers a slur. Should we cancel Sandy? I actually did ask about that when I was first doing it. It's like, that's not offensive or anything, is it? If I refer to you guys as pawn jumpers? I actually did ask about that because I wasn't too sure. Like, it doesn't, to me, it's a friendly nickname, but you never know what counts as a slur these days sometimes. Anyway, let's get to the other federal docket that I have lined up. Tone change. Be prepared for tone change. Okay. So Leah Gazan, she is an NDP MP who has not crossed the floor to the Liberals and will not, says today marks the 150th year of the Indian Act as an archaic tool of colonialism unilaterally ruling over Indigenous peoples across this country. Canada is an apartheid state because there is literally a different law for Indigenous peoples than there are for people like me. The Indian Act is a thing that still exists in this country that treats Indigenous peoples as a ward of the state. The Indian Act enshrined the stripping of Indigenous rights, discrimination against Indigenous culture, and sexism against Indigenous women into Canadian law. The Indian Act violates the United Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which affirms the inherent and pre-existing rights of Indigenous peoples. It is long overdue for the Canadian government to rectify the abhorrent legacy of the Indian Act. I call on all members of Parliament to vote in favor of the amendments to Bill S2 and amend the Indian Act's legacy of sexism by removing the second-generation cutoff that has long stripped Indigenous women of their rights. Yeah, so that would be, yeah, that's still a thing in Canada. And so here is Leah talking at an event, and oh, this caused some controversy. We'll get to it, but in what she says here, massive controversy. So she says, today I joined Indigenous women's organizations condemning the Liberal government's appalling $7 billion cuts to Indigenous services, Canadian Crown Indigenous Relations, two ministries that are already grossly underfunded. Remember Mark Carney saying being inclusive, blah, blah, blah bullshit? And it is especially disturbing that at the same time they're investing billions into the military-industrial complex, ignoring their legal obligations to end ongoing genocide against Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. The federal government has accepted the findings of National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and has recognized that the violence amounts to an ongoing genocide. Carney is backtracking commitments to MMIWG2S+, so that's Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and 2S people, through his so-called National Interest Project in the safety of Indigenous women and girls and 2S LGBTQIA+ people not in national interest. Without delay, it must be reversed. These callous cuts and immediately commit to providing long-term sustainable funding to organizations, agencies, and family groups to address the growing violence against Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA+ people. So, she said something in here, caused a lot of controversy. Let's listen.
I was shocked to find out that Prime Minister Carney is cutting $7 billion between Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent. This is callous. This is callous because the very Liberal government that has stripped organizations of life-sustaining funding has now committed $13 billion. $13 billion on military spending. Who is paying for it? Indigenous women across this country, Indigenous women, girls, 2S LGBTQIA+, are not safe.
Today, our right to life is threatened by the lack of political will, and it will remain so unless the government enacts the 231 calls for justice. Our lives are not optional. Our safety is not optional. And accountability is not optional.
We continue to see the lack of impact of action on a daily basis. This is what Canadian genocide looks like, and we continue to see the impact of systemic genocide, while at the same time, government continues to perpetuate the harms by removing resources to support the safety, security, and well-being of Indigenous women and their families.
So what is the controversy you're asking? Because all of that seemed pretty reasonable. Well, it's this.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent. Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIWG2S
Elon Musk quote tweeted that out saying Canada is cooked. But Leah Gazan replied, when bigots don't have intellectual capacity to understand what letters mean, all I gotta say is learn your alphabet and maybe you'll become part of mine. Okay, bye. So Brandy Morrison, who is Brandy Morin, who is an Indigenous journalist, also in this picture here, she was replying to Elon Musk with this, saying, our women aren't collateral damage in your culture war, Elon. Our women are sacred. The acronym isn't the story. The bodies are the story. And there are thousands of them.
Last night, Elon Musk looked at an acronym representing our murdered and missing women and girls and laughed. And then millions of people laughed with him. I'm not laughing. I'm a survivor. I was 12 years old when I was held hostage and raped in Edmonton. I could have been one of those names that society reduces to a statistic. I made it out. Countless of our women didn't. I've stood at the graves of our sisters. I've sat with their mothers and their daughters, and I've walked the highway of tears. I've spent years on the front lines covering this genocide, in the field with the families, in all the dark places. This isn't a debate about an acronym. This is about Indigenous women and girls being murdered, disappeared, and discarded in landfills, on highways, in rivers, while governments stall and the world scrolls past. Our women are not a joke. Our women aren't collateral damage in your culture war. The acronym isn't the story. The bodies are the story. And there are thousands of them. Read my full piece at Indigenous Insider on Substack.
So this is the piece here. I will toss this into the SandBox for people. There you go. But here's an article on it. NDP Leah Gazan's call for MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+ critics, bigots. Manitoba MP online calls frenzy a distraction from federal program cuts. Now, here's the thing. Nobody is trying to force anyone to say all of this when you're addressing various groups of people. She was saying this specifically in reference to the subjects that she was talking about. I can get how the letters for queer folks has become, quite long, but nobody is forcing you to say it one way or another. I tend to just say LGBTQIA+, with the plus covering a lot of stuff, including just non-binary, pansexual, which are not, don't have their own individual letter. So who cares if somebody wants to use a longer version that is important to them? Who the fuck cares what somebody else chooses to say when it comes to using these acronyms? It doesn't affect you. It doesn't mean anything to you, but it means everything to the person who is saying it. This is important for them. So, Leah Gazan is denouncing those who are mocking her online for using the term. A clip of the thing went around. Bigots are bigots, Gazan told CBC News in response. I certainly am really happy that bigots are offended by my positions around equality. What I am concerned about is continue to be motivated about, is ending systemic racism in this country. So MMIWG2S LGBTQIA+ stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, Two-Spirit, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, Questioning, Intersex, and Asexual plus. It's derived in part from the more commonly used initialism of MMIWG for the Missing, Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and the 2S LGBTQ+. Gazan calls pushback a distraction from the continued violence facing Indigenous women and girls, Two-Spirit and gender diverse people, along with federal funding cuts to programs aimed at prevention. My concern is the fact that Prime Minister Mark Carney has gutted funding to deal with something that was recognized as Canada-wide emergency in the House of Commons unanimously across party lines, Gazan said. So I'll put the rest of this article into the SandBox for you guys. So here from Agent NDN, a good follow on Twitter if you're still on the hostile fart sauna. I urge my fellow Indigenous people to ask themselves why Canada and American intelligence agencies were so afraid that Indigenous people would become or align themselves with Marxists, prepared to unlearn almost everything you've absorbed from American pop culture. And he's quote tweeting, RCMP Prime Minister both admits spying on Indigenous leaders was wrong, so why not say you're sorry? And I covered this earlier with a video and stuff showing how Indigenous peoples, especially people who were advocates and stuff, were being spied on by the RCMP. And this is the article. Sorry seems to be the slowest word. Federal government and RCMP owe Indigenous leaders an apology for spying, and the sooner the better. For a government that brags about how fast it moves when it comes to nation-building projects, Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals have been slow to offer an apology for the RCMP's spying on Indigenous leaders in the 1960s and 70s. It's been more than a week since many Canadians learned that, thanks to reporting by a team of CBC journalists, how extensively the RCMP kept tabs on hundreds of Indigenous activists 50 years ago. I don't know how to say these names. Father of Nunavut, and this name here, another key thinker in the creation of Nunavut, are among the names that show up in 6,000 pages of documents CBC obtained by using Canada's access to information law. So I've already gone over some of this in previous live streams. So RCMP Commissioner Mike Dunham also expressed sincere regret on behalf of National Police Force. So where is the apology? With Mark Carney and Dunham in agreement, it shouldn't take long. Keep in mind, this is not new to the government. Most Canadians found out about it through CBC's in-depth reporting, but the government has shown for years the story would break because it fought CBC in court over whether the information should be released. Yeah, I'm just going to toss the rest of this into the sandbox for people to read because I am crashing out. Let's see. Yeah, there's not too much more to go in the federal docket. It's not a long provincial docket. I don't think I can. I'm definitely getting sicker. I think I have to call it a night. I'm hoping this isn't a full-fledged cold. I'm hoping it's something else and that I recover quickly, because if not, I'm going to be laid out for the next few days. If I'm feeling okay, I'll try to do a live stream on Tuesday to cover off the provincial news and the rest of the federal news that I have ready for you guys. Of course, there's this space on Wednesday, which I would also be doing. I was hoping to go to a memoriam tomorrow. So I have been involved with the local theater, community theater group, and somebody in that group passed away at a young age due to cancer, and I was hoping to go to the memoriam tomorrow, but hopefully this isn't a cold. Hopefully it's just a 24-hour thing and I'm fine tomorrow. I was hoping to get back to the gym tomorrow. I still have a pulled muscle on my rib cage just under here. And it's still a little painful, but enough that I can work with. Of course, if I get into massive coughing fits in the next few days, that might re-aggravate it. So, fingers crossed, but I am definitely feeling a lot worse now than I was at the beginning of the stream. So I still need to do a dinner, cook dinner and stuff. So I need to get that done. Yeah. Oh, so quickly check the sandbox. Please buy my book. Check out my other YouTube channel, Sandy Lovis. I'll be adding more stuff to it in the near future. I know I wanted to do just little quick conversation videos about one of the Star Trek series being canceled, and there was another, I guess, movie writer who is trying to claim that his stuff is apolitical, which is not a thing. So I wanted to do a couple quick videos on those and transfer over more videos to the new YouTube channel, but yeah. And I've been getting some good work done on my TYT essay. I've done the section that I was working on. So I only have one more part to do, and by part I mean a lot of little parts in it. So the section on Cenk and Anna becoming more favorable with right-wingers, including Tucker Carlson and, you know, some of their coverage of Donald Trump and what they were trying to do with that section, that part is done. The video clips in that, the video clips alone are about an hour and 20 minutes long. I'm starting to think at a bare minimum, my video essay is going to have to be broken up into 6 parts. I was hoping not, but it's, I need to kind of go over it and figure out how I'm going to release it once it is ready, but I still have to do the part where things that they have been wrong about, things that they are lying about, sketchy money issues, and or what things that they've been wronged about or flip-flopped on. And then there's things that they have lied about, sketchy money issues, the random 9/11 stuff, and then just like the closing off part. And so that will probably be another hour worth of clips so that I end up putting together. But yeah, it's very, very long. Yeah, I don't think I'll be going back to the gym tomorrow. No, I don't even think I'll be setting my alarm clock to wake up early like I have been. I'm just going to give my body the amount of rest that it wants tonight. Yeah, no, I'm definitely feeling myself crashing out, which means I need to like cook a dinner, maybe something that can give me leftovers, take a shower tonight, because if this is like a full-fledged cold, I won't be able to shower for a few days because my body gets repulsed by the texture of water. Like I can't handle it when I get sick, but that's when the when my body temperature can't figure out if it's hot or cold, and that's part of the reason I don't know if I should take a hot shower or a cold shower, and my body is both hot and cold at the same time. And so for like 3 days, even washing my hands after going to the washroom is difficult. I do it, obviously, but it's difficult. Just the sensation of water on my skin is heightened to the point that it's very uncomfortable. So hopefully it's not full-fledged cold. Hopefully it's just something that, like a 24-hour thing or something. Because I haven't even fully recovered from my last cold. I still had a lingering cough. But I'm so susceptible to catching colds. And I wear masks when I can, but, you know, I want to function in society, and you can't. Although I won't be doing as many dinner theater shows in the near future because our main venue got shut down suddenly. So I'm going to be out at income revenue stream that way. Although I did do a dinner theater show, special offsite show yesterday. It's a yearly fundraiser that we do a dinner theater show for. And I actually bidded on a silent auction item and I got it. Which will help my YouTube studio because I got it much cheaper than I would have gotten it anywhere else. And yeah, it will definitely help my YouTube studio. It will help me function with the screens because it will be another screen. So it will make using StreamYards through OBS so much easier. It will make my life easier once I get it set up. But it's going to be a while before I actually get around to that. But yeah, hopefully, well, this time I think even if I am cold sick, like really sick, I'm still going to be pushing through some of it and getting some work done because I need to. I'm getting behind on things. I have some vending markets coming up in May. I sent in the application for the Pride vending market, which means I have a shit ton of painting I need to do. So lots of work, lots of work. Yeah. So let's see what people are saying in the SandBox. People in support of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Let's see. Oh man, I am crashing out. I was really hoping it wasn't a cold. But it gets to a certain point where I feel myself just go boom. So, right after this, I'll have to go shower and then cook dinner and then make sure that I have everything by my bed that I need, like cold medication, lozenges, water, all that sort of stuff, because chances are when I wake up tomorrow, I will not be functional. Let's see. Yes, I'm calling it, everyone. Yeah. So life, they spied on everyone in the 60s and 70s. Oh my God, not liberal imperial colonialists. Yeah. Bad Lefty, make a cup of tea and get into bed, Sandy. Thank you for another great episode, says Bad Lefty. Thank you for coming out, everyone. Bad Lefty, sorry for your loss. I didn't know her too well. It was a while ago, but still, you know, she was quite young. Has 2 daughters and a husband. She was a good person. Cancer. So I was hoping to go out to the memoriam. Bad Lefty, Star Trek is very commie-coded. Very commie-coded, yeah. Bobby, yeah, it's going to be a mini-series. I was just really hoping to get it out in one weekend. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let's see. Oops. No, can't go there. Thank you so much, Le Wild West, for the generous $10 super chat. Get well soon. Get some vitamin C. I take vitamins on a regular basis, actually. I do take vitamin C every day as part of my vitamin regimen. I'm just really susceptible to colds. Like back when I was working in an office, I was getting sick like this 4 times a winter. I haven't been sick in quite some time, and now to get it back to back is really kind of ugh. But yeah, I hope that it's not as bad as the last cold, because the last cold I had was fucking hell. Bad Lefty, perhaps you're doing too much, Sandy? Nah, I don't think it's that. I just think I just come into contact with somebody with a cold and I got it. That's it. I do take time to myself. I've been binge watching Supernatural like nobody's business, and so that's my downtime. And literally sometimes I'm like, huh, it wasn't like I got to the point where it's like, maybe this is losing interest. Oh, it got good again. And I'm watching like 4 episodes in a row. But I definitely need to get a lot of painting done. Let's see. There you go. Thank you, John Litham, for the $4.99 super chat. Hope you get to feel better soon. Thank you. Fingers crossed. I'm feeling it. God damn it. Damn it. I was really hoping it wasn't a cold. I do have a friend, though, and he said he can go do a grocery run for me, which is super helpful, because the last time I got sick and was laid out, I had just gone grocery shopping, so I was fine, but this time I'm going to need some stuff. But I have a couple friends actually, that would be willing to go out and pick up some stuff for me. And I'm not much of a tea drinker, but I do have some tea in like Keurig style pods that I'll probably be drinking, and lots of throat lozenges. So just need to get everything set up for tomorrow morning for when I don't wake up. Well, I'll wake up, but my body will not be functional. I get the feeling. Anyway, I should call it and take a shower before my body starts screaming at me to not touch water. Oh, no, I have to go into this one. Should I close this? There we go. There. That. My brain is starting to not function. Okay. I can't wait to finally get that TYT essay done. For one thing, so it's off my plate, but also I look forward to sharing it with all of you. I think you'll get a kick out of it. The montage that I put together of like the Donald Trump stuff, super interesting. Yeah, the clips that I've been finding, just very serendipitous, coming across them the way that I have. I think it will be a very, very interesting, definitely in-depth and detailed video essay about TYT. And I would challenge anyone to take them seriously, Cenk and Anna seriously again, after seeing this video essays. You can't take them as credible people anymore after that, I don't think. But yeah, everyone, check these all out. I'll see about getting some more videos at least transferred to my Sandy Lovis channel. I also need to make a video about it and post it on this channel so that I can get more views on it, because that channel is not in existence still. Also, I just posted a video that I did with Tony McQuail. He was a candidate for the federal NDP. So I had a follow-up interview with him. I'm in the works to get a follow-up interview with Tennille Johnston as well. So please check it out. It hasn't even broken 100 views. I'd like it to do that. I know interviews, one-off interviews like this, tend not to get as many eyeballs on it, but you know, he's a great person, and he brought a wonderful message to the table with his candidate, with his campaign and stuff. And so it was really, really valuable to have him in the leadership race. And I would greatly appreciate if people go check out that video. If you've already seen it, click on it, hit play, mute it, go to a different tab, you know, to help it get over that, you know, that magical 100 view. It means nothing. It would make me feel better if it got at least 100 views. But yeah. Let's see. Soul Life Jank was nothing more than a hope salesman. I wouldn't call him that anymore. I feels more like a dumb than hopeful. Oh, right. Is there anyone to raid? Let me just check quickly if there's anyone to be raided. So if I'm feeling better, I will be doing a live stream Tuesday night. Let's see. If not, but if I'm not well enough to do one Tuesday night, I probably won't be in this space either. Let's see. I don't think Boston Brian is live right now. Okay, I'm not seeing any of my channels that I watch regularly live. Okay, yeah. Nothing that I watch regularly is live right now. Anyway. Well, have a good night, everyone. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm almost done. Thank you so much, 56 Nick Rich, for the $2 super chat. I hit the like and kitty treats. Super appreciate it. Mark Lamont Hill is live? Oops. Let me see. Oh, yeah, okay. I don't know why I wasn't showing up. I will try to send you off to Mark Lamont Hill, if he allows it. But yeah, thank you for the super chats. Super appreciate it. Everyone hit the like and subscribe. I have to set this up now. Edit. Let's scooch down customization. Let's see if I can do Mark Lamont Hill. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can. Okay, we can raid Mark Lamont Hill. So I will be doing that. Okay, now, this time for real. Unless somebody wants to send in their super chat, but please don't because I need to sign off. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.